How's everybody doing today? Sounds like the two boys, my baby boys, my beautiful sons, are in a sour state today.
Yeah, just worked a long shift.
Mark, your mic is not on.
Perfect.
There we go.
I just worked a long shift. Worked a 9-hour shift today, a 10-hour shift yesterday. So I'm pretty beat.
10 hours yesterday?
Yeah, so I'm pretty beat, and customers are annoying as shit, so... Yeah, just a little bit annoyed. And then also it's like raining all day and all evening. And it's like the rain got kind of heavier in the evening. And it was like 8:45 and there was like 10 people in the store. And the whole mall closes at 9, including our store obviously. So it's like the mall closes at 9, the store closes at 9. It's 8:45 on a Friday night and it's packed in our store. Like 10, 12 people in the store. And my brain just can't understand why these people are here. Why they're choosing to spend their Friday night in a store that's about to close. I just don't get it. So that was fun to deal with. Yeah. Oh, you want to hear something cool that happened to me today? Actually, maybe I can make it into my topic. We'll see. But so this old guy comes in. He's like maybe like 90 or 80 something, and he's just returning something. But I had a good conversation with him. He was just like, "Oh, like what are you doing? Are you in school?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm in teachers college." He was like, "Oh, I was a professor or whatever." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And so we're talking. Anyway, he's like really pleased with how I was talking to him. I guess he was like a good conversation. He's like, "Man, you're a good guy." Like, and then he like looked over at my assistant manager. He's like, "You got a good guy here." And she was like, "Yeah, I know." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." I was like, it was a sweet conversation. It was like nice and respectful. And then afterwards, he goes, "Oh, this is so random." He goes, "Oh, little nugget for you." He goes, "You ever watch a show called The Masked Singer?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "It's like on NBC or something, and it's a show." Kind of like The Voice, except you don't see the person singing.
Mm-hmm. Have you never seen this, Patrick? I've never like watched it. But,
their chairs are turned around.
Yeah, no, that's the
but
Voice.
The people are like out in a big extravagant like mascot costume.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, the Masked Singer is similar to The Voice, very similar, except they're literally masked. Okay. Anyway, he tells me he's like, the guy named Robin Thicke on the panel. He's one of the judges. Or
Blurred
whatever.
lines, baby.
Blurred lines. He goes, "That's my grandson." And he walks out. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And so I tell my boss, and he was like, "Oh, that must have been Alan Thicke's father." Because Alan Thicke was apparently a famous musician as well or something. And I was like, "That was pretty cool." I just talked to this...
well, there you go.
This cool
that sounds like a pleasant way to end
yeah.
Otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, it was earlier in the day. So
you blew your load early.
As the day went on, I just lost energy.
Your customer goodwill blew its load right off the bat. You hate to blow it right off the bat. Two things. Number one, Mark, you mind just flipping the switch back up now that we're done? Because I'm looking at it sideways like that, and it's giving me heart palpitations. Number two, I'm in a better mood today, but I will say what's making me furious right now, and I have to say it before the thousands and thousands of comments we'll get on it, we do every YouTube video.
Very good.
I got little stains on my shirt. I think it's when I was carrying Mark and I's boba. I got stains on my shirt. So am I glad I have a boba? You're goddamn right. Am I upset about the stains? You're goddamn right. Patrick, go on.
Would you force him to pay the dry cleaning bill?
Well, no, because I don't do dry cleaning.
Yeah, no one does that actually.
If you were to dry clean,
did you know that?
If I were to, well, here's the thing. I can't conclusively say whether it was my drink or Mark's drink that did it, so that would feel a little disingenuous to pin the, I assume, 25 cents in the laundromat machine to fix it.
My parents are on vacation now.
Wow, free base.
Wait, they went to party at my house.
Party at Mark's house.
Where'd they go?
Cuba.
They
went to Cuba.
Oh, very good.
And you know what's interesting? I got a call when my mom's at the airport, and she goes, she's like almost in a panic, like not crazy panic, but like a little bit. Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, your brother just fell. He fell." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, or not? No, she didn't say he just fell. She said, "Did you hear what happened?" And I was like, "What?" He's like, she's like, "Your brother fell earlier when he was like helping us move the suitcases into the car." And she made it sound like he had broken his leg or something crazy. And she goes, "Yeah, like he fell and he like hurt his toe." And I was like, "Okay." I said, "Is it broken?" And she was like, "I don't think so." And I was like, "Oh, okay, like it doesn't sound that bad. You're making it sound really bad." And she's like, "Mark, you're being rude. Like he's hurt. He was crying." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like I was like he's being dramatic. There's no way. I was like, if it's not broken, if he just stubbed his toe, that's it. And she's like, "No, like you're being rude, whatever." Anyway, I get home And my brother has
laid up in a cast.
My-
Mark's like, it can't be that bad.
my brother he had a wrap around his toe.
Okay.
But I go into his bedroom and he's like showing me the video of him falling, and it was
There's footage of it?
yeah.
How is there footage?
Ring camera.
Oh my god, is it like the video of your dad?
Yeah.
Would you
I don't.
I
Have
want
it.
to insert the video of Mark's dad wiping out into the podcast right now. I feel like Mark's dad would hate that.
I don't think he would ever see it. But anyway, so I see the video of my brother, and it's like the most like he fell. It took him like 5 seconds to fall. Like he had the suitcase, and he just like stumbles, and it's like slowly going down. And he just lands safely on the suitcase.
Yeah.
And I was like, "You barely fell." And he was like, "Yeah, but my toe bent under or whatever or something." Like I don't know. So anyway, I guess I was being a dick because I was like saying it wasn't a big deal, and like I don't get why he was so upset.
So
about
that's
it.
2 out of your 4 family members that have been caught on the ring cam wiping
Yeah.
out. So my question to you as now fellow degenerate gamblers is, what's the over-under on you or your mom being the next one caught on film to eat shit? And I assume and hope to God that you're saving these videos so that one day you
think I have-
have some sort of like
Compilation?
family compilation.
Highlight
like,
reel.
Here's all the Mashrikis wiping out.
I think I have my dad's one, and then I'll ask
I
my
for
mom.
sure have it. So
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't have
Even
it,
if I
I've
know
got
it.
it.
And then I think my mom has
It's
my
on my computer.
It's a weird video
Because you know what it was? Because it was on my phone.
That was
and
a
then
harder
when
fall.
I transferred my
Yeah,
That looked like it
that
When
was
hurt.
I
hard.
transferred all my shit from my old phone, I just threw all my like pictures and videos on my computer, so it came with everything else.
Yeah.
So I have it on this computer.
You
Is
guys-
the video of your dad?
Do you guys know what the time difference is from here to Cuba?
I think we're in
Here
the
to
same time
Cuba?
zone.
Same time zone?
Are we really?
If not like an
I would
hour
assume.
earlier.
Yeah, maybe not by much, but I would assume it would be
gonna-
maybe a couple hours.
We can cut this up. I'm just gonna call my mom and tell her to send me the video so we can watch it.
Of your brother.
Yeah.
Oh,
We'll be right back.
I mean, we can keep this in.
here we go.
Mark's mom, you're on the podcast. This is very engaging content. I'm gonna leave all this in.
She's not answering. Well,
Let's theorize what Mark's parents could possibly be
Uh-oh.
doing that they can't come to the phone right
They're
now.
either
no.
at a dance club,
uh-oh.
sitting by the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Or
That's it. That's all they could be doing.
somewhat vaguely related to what I'm getting into.
Dinner. The hell are we talking
Sure,
about?
dinner.
That's it. They
Those are
couldn't
the
be
only
doing
3
anything.
options.
That's it, yeah.
Something vaguely related to what I'm talking about
No.
here.
Wait, what?
So I'm at home today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or I go to run all my errands because at the time of recording, Patrick and I are about to go on a camping trip with a bunch of our work friends. So I was like out for like an hour or so. I did like a booze run and getting all kinds of groceries and other shit. And I come home and I am my father's son. When I'm home and I'm not going anywhere, I'm in pajamas. I'm in a robe. Shout out to the robe topic. I'm in underwear. I'm just chilling. I am comfortable when I know I'm not going anywhere and doing anything. Like my dad, who is sitting on his recliner chair in the living room. T-shirt, underwear. Now he's got pajama pants on the couch beside him that he has not put on yet. He's just chilling in his underwear and his shirt. And I'm talking to him and showing him some of the shit I got because I got like booze for home too, not just to take this weekend and whatever. And I walk out of the living room and I walk back into my living room so that I'm facing my dad, like not at like the side or anything, head on. And my dad's just sitting here, not like spread eagle, but his legs are apart a little. And what do I see to my hilarity and dismay?
His chewing gum.
One of my dad's testicles hanging out of a gaping hole in the bottom of his underwear that he did not know it was there and did not know that he was hanging brain. So I walk in and I start pissing myself.
That's the chewing gum.
And he's
baby.
like, "What?" And I say to him verbatim, I'm like, "Dad,
Your balls
you're
out."
hanging brain." And he's like, "Huh?" And then he looks down and starts feeling around and he's like, "Oh, I didn't realize his underwear even had a hole in them." I was like, "Well, they do." I was like, "Because there's a ball hanging out." And he's like, "Oh, I guess I should put my pajama pants on, huh?" I was like, "Probably. That would be a good idea before mom gets home." And then he's like, "Well, it's the same thing you've got, just older." And I'm like, "That's not as comforting a reason as you think it may be." So speaking of parental shenanigans, yeah, one of my dad's nuts was hanging out today, so that was fun.
Wow.
Anyways,
Wow.
was there anything else we wanted to get out for this?
I don't want to see the intrusive part of my brain was like, ask him questions about it. But the rational part of my brain
what?
is like, just like, listen, no, I'm not going to say. I'm not going to ask
mean?
questions about it.
Ask
What-
me
what
one of the
qu-
questions.
yeah, what
in
que-
your
I
head
can't
right now.
even
Give me
imagine what
one.
you'd wanna
Give me
ask.
one.
I don't want it to be on the record. I don't want it to be on the record.
Okay, maybe we'll do it off air.
Off air. Off air.
Well, before you go, Fahim, I will just say that I've got a mouthful of boba
Okay.
on this audio podcast. Season finale of X-Men 97 was this week. As far as I'm concerned, the Mount Rushmore of animated superhero content now goes Spectacular Spider-Man, Batman the Animated Series, maybe the 90s HBO Spawn show, X-Men 97. Has no business being as good as it is. Also, today, finally, I am done with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. 68 hours, almost to the dot. Game over. Patrick, go on because you're enraged.
Thank you, brother.
Today. Thank you, brother. Patrick, go on because you're... No, I don't get the reference. Patrick, go on because I hear you're in a sour mood too, and then we'll get this shit show started.
Why are you in a fake bad mood, Patrick?
The only reason I'm in
Now he's in a real bad mood.
the only reason I was in a slightly poor mood is because I was showing my family Stranger Things episode 1, season 1, episode 1.
I was thinking about that show.
And my dad turns to me, he was like, after we finished watching it, he was like, "Oh, you better what did he say? He was like, you better feel like proud of yourself or whatever." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Your mom sat here and she swallowed the whole first episode of this show for you." I was like, "Huh?" She was like, "She doesn't like horror, and you know she doesn't like horror."
The first episode's kind of scary. It's like the one where they're like the monsters
Will
like
gets taken.
yeah.
Where Will gets taken,
Yeah.
and
It's not that scary.
And
but, like,
I looked at both of them. I was like, "This is the base tier of any horror. Like this is as shallow as it gets."
it's PG. It's PG.
It's PG.
It's kind of like
It's such a good show.
I mean,
just
it's
like
creepy, but it's like it's almost like I guess it's a little more intense because it's real people. But I would maybe put it on par with like a 9 or like a Coraline,
Sure.
or even like some of those like old movies from the 80s, like a Goosebumps or like some of that shit where it's like for kids, kind of. But like it teeters on that like slightly traumatizing.
yeah, like it's definitely like okay, like
But it's
you're
not fucking
nervous.
Saw. Like
It's
they're
not Saw or
on
gory or
people
anything.
in half.
On the
Yeah.
extreme end, maybe it's like kind of like Alien. Maybe like the first episode where it's like you don't see it and it's kind of weird noises and like
Sure,
But like maybe
but even Alien, it's like
a little bit more
everyone's
intense.
having a nice family dinner, and then
And-
oops,
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
gaping hole in this man's chest.
Yeah.
The only reason it frustrates me is because if we can't watch this together, then what on earth what could we watch together? Like if this is too much.
anything non-horror. You know what I mean? Are you saying like horror specifically? Like
Just like I'm just thinking of like okay, like
Are you trying to
Anything-
watch shows with your parents?
yeah, with and Kevin.
The four of you are trying to
The
watch
four
shows
of us. So the
together.
four of us
You know
watched
what
episode 1.
you
Is
know
this like a new conscious Fahim household effort?
Yeah.
you know what the issue is with that? I think it's like what do you call it? It's like admirable, but I feel like the problem is like having everybody in on the same time and like you know what I'm saying?
I'm fine because I've already watched it. So it's like
Sure.
it's like low stakes for me.
But,
And
like-
it's just like once a week when we're all together, just like
Okay.
you know what I'm saying?
I think it would be in your best interest to find something that's a little more like crowd pleasing in the sense of if horror's not necessarily your mom's thing, then and I know Stranger Things is like it is horror, but it like doesn't necessarily.
That's
like,
my
go
point.
full
To me,
Stranger
tilt.
Things,
That's my point.
Stranger Things is a great family show. is what
Stranger
I'm
Things is perfect, but if it doesn't fit for you guys, I feel like something like because my parents and I and we talked about it for your recommending TV thing. Like Tokyo Vice was something my brother doesn't give a shit, and he is glued to his room. But that was something that like my mom and dad and I, like the three of us, sat down to watch, kind of thing together. And that's it's just this like interesting drama series. So like that might be slightly more appealing. I don't know how much you want to watch scenes of hanky panky with your brother and your family. I don't know
Not
how
a
well
lot.
that would go over.
Not great.
Almost
So
not.
like maybe like drama things like that aren't necessarily ideal. But is it like a horror problem or like a violence problem?
There's not that much violence in the first
thing
episode.
is,
though.
my mom said she'll watch it kind of thing. I'm like
She committed to it
she's committed to it
after the
but
first episode.
But it's like if you're
Or
gonna
before the first episode.
after the first episode. So
Well, there you go.
my only thing is like if you're gonna commit to it and like everyone's on the same page here, then why are you giving me why are you laying into me here? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, so that's what you're sour about is just the like, why am I getting reamed here?
Yeah, why am I getting reamed? It's
When
first of all, it's a
everybody's
show.
okay.
That's the first thing. It's a show. It's not like we're watching we're in
Lively-
the black web
lively
and it's
videos.
like terrorists cutting people's
Yeah.
heads off.
Yeah.
Honestly, sometimes like I don't know, it's weird. Sometimes I'll be watching something and then like my parents will be there, or maybe they'll walk in the living room or something, and I'm watching something, and my dad always does this shit that always kind of annoys me, and I never say anything about it, but he's always like, it's like something, let's say grotesque is happening on screen, like some bloody or violent thing. And he's always like, oh, like lovely or whatever. In Arabic, he'll say it. He'll be like, oh, that's just lovely. I love seeing that.
That's like my
Well,
dad's
they
video
actually
games.
they actually did the same thing. In the first episode, the scene of Steve and Nancy making out.
Mm.
I was like, "What are we watching here?" I was like, "Oh Jesus Christ!"
What do you mean? What are we watching?
That's what I was gonna say. Because Stranger Things, in terms of like the banging, is pretty tame.
It's
All
tame.
things considered.
It's tame.
Banking.
That's one of the reasons why I chose it.
Whereas
And it's
that-
like they can't even handle this.
That's the problem with
tameness
going with
of
like
it.
a drama series or something. Because if you tried to do like a Tokyo Vice or like
Anything HBO really.
anything HBO for sure, but like
Is
even just
Tokyo Vice
other
HBO?
dramas, yeah. But anything else like, I mean, I was gonna say even something like Sopranos, but that's obviously HBO too. Non HBO even, it could be like a fucking Game of Thrones or like something like that. It's like all it's gonna be is tits and asses.
Dude, I wish
and
I could show my parents.
butts and what's.
I thought Game of Thrones was HBO.
It is actually. So you're so right.
I wish I could show my parents Breaking Bad because it's such an incredible show.
That's what I'm saying.
But
Like,
literally, maybe like the first episode or the second episode, like Walt gets a hand job in bed.
it's isn't
Episode 1, I think.
isn't episode 1 where they screw in the car?
No, that's like later in the season. But
Oh.
episode 1, like he's in bed after his shift to the car wash, and she just starts giving him a hand job, and it's like a full 5-minute scene of like the whole interaction.
Yeah,
Like as soon as that happens, it'd be like the show's like garbage, like throw it off.
yeah.
But
Have
it's-
you considered comedy?
like what comedy? shows
Honestly,
could you watch?
I'm
Like
gonna
sitting
commit
down
to
and watching like a How I Met Your Mother
Oh, a
or a
sitcom.
Community or
Put it
like a
this way.
Parks and Rec.
Put it this way, I'm gonna commit to Stranger Things season 1.
I think it's a good choice.
And the only thing is, I'm gonna fast forward through the scene in episode 2 where Nancy and Steve
They're in
are
bed?
in his room. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna just like.
But do they bang in that? Isn't
No,
it like
they don't.
after?
It's implied.
It's implied that
but
they
they don't.
bang,
They
but-
all they show is them kissing them.
Yeah.
Can I be honest? And this is kind of a topic unto itself, and I
Yeah.
apologize, and we're making this cold open go real long.
Are you actually doing a free the nipple right now?
No, although free the nipple to me has always been like, of course, doesn't make any sense. But no, I feel like I am not a prude or like anti-sex, obviously, like in any real way. But I have heard it expressed before on another show, and I completely agree with it. Where I find sex in TV, not so much movies because I feel like it's a lot less, but TV specifically is like so overdone,
What do you mean?
and it's like too much that
in
it.
TV shows?
Yes. Like when it's a show like Game of Thrones or some of these, and I haven't really seen Game of Thrones, but it's like a show like Game of Thrones where it's just like just it's a one penetration shot away from being porn, basically. Where I'm like, I don't get it. Like I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. Like there's no part of it where I'm like, oh, this is like titillating and fun and like blah blah blah. I'm like, no. I'm like, just get to like.
Are you talking about like you're talking about like the because to me I'm thinking like even like the scene in Breaking Bad, it's like it's not overly sexual. It's inherently sexual, but it's not like overly like super sexual. And to me, I like it because it's like it makes me feel like I'm watching a real scenario. Do you know what I'm saying? Because like if you never have anything related to sex in a show, you're like, this isn't real life. People have sex. People think about sex. People do stuff. So to me, it's like to have that is like just adding to the realness of how the show feels. you
Which
know?
I don't mind, and I think it's fine. And I
Yeah.
think when it's used as like a plot device, or like a character thing, or sometimes whatever, it's like that's fine. But to me, I'm like, okay, they're in a room, they start kissing, the camera pans up away from them, and like we move on to the next scene. I'm like, that's all I need. I know what's going on. I don't need the like 3 minutes drawn out like, and now we're fucking kind of thing. Like I just find it doesn't.
In Game of Thrones, they have a scene of like a brother and a sister. They're
Yes,
just, like,
there's a lot
going
of
at it.
incest.
You've
apparently.
watched Game of Thrones?
I've watched the first 2 seasons.
2?
Yeah.
Why'd you stop?
Oh my god, it was so long ago. I can't remember why.
To me, it's like I just mentioned. Let me put it this way: with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, technically, I don't even know if it's like a sex scene necessarily. I didn't read it that way. I don't think it is. But in the game, all the characters in your party, you have like basically like a stat with all of them of like how kind of well your relationship's going with all of them. And the two kind of main girls in the game, Aerith and Tifa, my beloved. I specifically used a GameSpot guide on how to make sure I nailed Tifa's relationship thing going through the whole game. There's like a
I
scene.
thought you were gonna say how to
how I
nail
nail
Tifa.
Tifa. There's a scene like
Isn't it the same difference?
towards
Yeah, right.
the like end of the game. One of the last few chapters where like Cloud and Tifa are at this like
Cloud!
Yes, your boy in Smash Cloud. They're at this like place which is like kind of like a big, almost like amusement park, whatever kind of thing. And it's like, hey, we're gonna go to sleep before tomorrow when we set off on like the next part of the story. But Tifa, because that's the character I had built the most relationship status with, knocks on like Cloud's door at night. It's like, hey, let's go like hang out and whatever. And you ride like a couple rides with her and whatever, and you wind up on a Ferris wheel. And on the Ferris wheel, there's like fireworks going off, and it's like this really like fun, cute, emotional scene or whatever. And like Tifa kind of expresses feelings for Cloud, and he's like, I like you too, sort of thing. And all they do is they just kiss. The fireworks are going off, and then it just shows the like cart or the fucking gondola thing they're in on the Ferris wheel, and then it just like pans out and away from it, and you see the whole sort of amusement park and the fireworks going out, and it just like cuts to later or whatever. And it's not even necessarily implied that they like did it, in this fucking Ferris wheel car or anything like that. But I'm like, that's all I need. Just they kiss, we pan out, I'm good. I can fill in the blanks myself. But it's like when I'm watching a Tokyo Vice or like The Boys or any of these shows where it's like I don't need these, like, it just feels so gratuitous in a way that's like,
I think when it's drawn out, it's definitely a lot. Yeah.
To me,
like
it's
the whole
just,
like the struggle of like taking off the belt and then the fucking like all that shit. Remember that? You know that shit where it's like it feels like
they're like they're in a room and they're both like quickly,
yes.
like,
I look at it in the same way that I know a lot of people would look at like obscene or like gratuitous violence and be like, oh, what's the point of this? But to me, it's like when I'm playing a Mortal Kombat or like watching a show like The Boys or reading something like Invincible, the violence is almost like, yes, it's gratuitous, and yes, it's not necessarily needed, but it's like part of the fun. And in Mortal Kombat's case, I would even argue it's part of like the charm of it, that it's so like cartoonishly, stupidly violent, the fatalities. And I guess people would make that same comparison with like sex scenes and stuff, where it's like, oh, it's just supposed to be like fun and whatever and additive and blah blah blah. And so maybe it's just a personal hang up on it, but it's like I don't get the like.
I also think that like that sort of I feel like sex is like inherently more personal and private, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like when you're watching it, I might get the sense where it's like uncomfortable because I personally feel like that activity in that realm is like personal and private and shouldn't be publicized for everybody to watch type thing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But whereas like violence is like something where, oftentimes you might see it even if you don't want to, just in public, you know? Or like just so I feel like people are just more desensitized to violence, whereas sex is more, I don't know, it's like special, personal, whatever. It's like, it's not just like every day you see it in public type
I guess it's just like, when I watch Sub-Zero rip Johnny Cage's head off with like all his fucking organs still attached to the spine somehow, it's like that, oh, like that's awesome. Or also like laughing out loud of like, this is fucking ridiculous. But it's like in Game of Thrones when like when he bends her over and then it's just 3 minutes of him just banging her from behind and it's just again one penetration shot away. We all know the angle. Guy asshole balls hanging, when it's like one penetration shot away from being porn, I'm like, I'm not sitting there like with the violence thing of like, oh, this is kind of funny, or sitting there like, fuck yeah, like who sits there looking around like this is awesome?
Are you in your if you're alone watching a sex scene, are you skipping it if it's that long? Are you just gonna skip it?
I don't really skip things like that. It's more just like I just find it.
I might as well rub one out.
I just find it like tedious and just very like I just don't think it serves any point. You could have two characters like in Final Fantasy VII spending the whole game trying to like build up that relationship with Tifa and then nailing it and getting to the scene of like her and Cloud kind of expressing feelings for each other was like a very rewarding and like cool character thing of like, awesome, these two characters that I like that are clearly into each other are like expressing love for each other.
You made them into each other.
I made this happen, yes. But it's like, that's great. You know what I don't need to see? Like them then banging vigorously for like the next 10 minutes, or like the old God of War games where it was a fucking quick time event mini game of just like banging Aphrodite in God of War 3 or something. It's like,
do you know how that?
I mean, when I was a kid, it was fun because it was like, what is this? But like now, it's like I don't need it.
Do you know how that Game of Thrones scene ends? So he's like
facial.
He's doing his sister, right?
Oh.
And this.
Does she want that, or is he raping her?
No, she wants it. Oh, she's in love with her brother.
I feel like
they're both adults.
I've heard there's rape scenes in that too.
Oh.
That show.
I guess I didn't get deep enough. Oh no. Yeah, I've seen it.
Is that a pun you just?
No, I got deep enough.
He got deep enough.
Is that a pun you just made?
Oh, and I didn't even realize.
You know the only scene. Sorry, you finish.
I was just gonna say. So he's like, going at it, getting after it, right, in the bag.
In the bag.
And this kid, he's climbing. They're in like this tower that has like an open.
I know what you're talking about.
The kid climbs up. he's part of like the Lannister family, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and he sees them, but no one's supposed to know about them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the brother like pulls out,
Mm.
and he goes up to the kid, and just
Kills him?
and just he doesn't die though. Like he goes into a coma, but he pushes him off.
Attempted murder. I was about to say there's only one scene from that show that I like know and have in my brain for some reason, but you saying that just reminded me that like I've seen that clip before, but I always every time I think of Game of Thrones, I think I don't know what the context of the scene is, I don't know what's going on, never don't know anything about the show, but it's just Peter Dinklage's character talking to somebody else and saying. I forget what the lead up to this part of the
he's
sentence
sitting in the
is,
bed.
and I forget what the end of the rest of the sentence is. But it's him just talking to somebody and being like, you know, blah blah blah, with a woman's mouth around my cock, and then like the rest of the line. I don't know what the context is, but that scene just lives in my head rent free of Peter Dinklage talking about getting his dick sucked.
There's a scene of him, literally in the first episode as well. He's just laying down in a bed, and there's like at least 6 girls, and they're all like. Is this bad to say? Like they're regular.
Sucking on his Dinklage?
No, they're all regular size.
size.
They're like
Oh.
all like, you know what I'm saying? He's yeah. Anyways,
I know like you didn't
So-
have to quantify that, but sure.
I'm just saying, like it wasn't like all you know.
The only scene I've seen from that show is like, what's his name?
Jon Snow.
No, the I'm trying to think of the actor who plays Joel in The Last of Us.
Oh, Pedro Pascal.
Pedro Pascal getting his head bashed in.
Oh Jesus!
Our
Like what?
future.
That-
I haven't seen Pedro Pascal's character in that show.
There's-
Maybe he's
like-
like after season 2.
There's like a bodybuilder guy, like Thor Bjornsson or something. I think that's his name.
He made that up.
I think it's something Bjorn or some shit. Like I don't know. But he's like on top of Pedro Pascal's character, and he's like gouging his eyes, and you see it the whole thing. It's just like top down, and he just like keeps going until his head just squishes.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Our future Mr. Fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just
Anyway,
added a bunch of people to that cast. Fucking John
seriously.
Malkovich and Natasha Lyonne. And what's the guy there? I forget his name.
What? Guy from what?
Was he one of the serial killers in that Mindhunter thing?
Really?
He's for sure the guy in I, Tonya, the Sebastian Stan's the heavier guy
Oh, that funny dude,
who's
right?
like complete idiot in that
yeah,
movie.
I don't know his acting.
They added
Yeah, I
him
don't
to
know
the
what
cast
actor's
too.
name.
It'd be hilarious if he was Mole Man. Anyways,
So-
God,
People are talking about that in the comments when I looked at it. They were
Yeah.
like, "Oh, he's gonna be Mole Man."
yeah, which would be hilarious. God, we have to start this show.
but yeah. So just 2 more things before
Mm-hmm.
we get out of this. So yeah,
We can
Stranger
just make-
Things.
we can just make this a show.
Just make this whole show. So Stranger Things. I do want to put on the record though. I know, like I'm annoyed, but my parents do come from a culture where all of it's taboo and
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, this
so
is the other thing I was gonna.
it's like
bring up.
hardwired into them. Like
Yeah,
I
I
can't
feel
be
like
too
there's
upset.
that cultural difference, which doesn't help because even like with
Even current Arabic TV shows are still like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
So-
well, even
They want to
Varsh,
make money. They want to make. They
Yeah.
want to risk anything.
Varsh was telling me with like a lot of the Bollywood stuff because like her and her sister grew up watching a lot of that stuff and like their parents still like some of that stuff, and she was telling me that like there's a lot of Bollywood like in Indian movies nobody ever kisses ever because that's like too taboo. She's like they do all like not like banging scenes or anything like that. She's like but they'll do all this other stuff like right up to the point, but there's never any like actual lip on lip contact because that's like too much. We actually watched one movie that was like sort of a murder thriller kind of thing. That shit actually banged. But there's this other movie that's like this super cheesy action movie
What's it
called
called?
Doom.
Okay.
DHOOM, which there's 2 of them. There's at least 2 of them. And we were watching the first
Wait,
one.
what was a good movie called?
I think it was Johnny John, if I'm getting that right. I'd have to ask Varsh, I forget, but it was actually pretty good. But I thought of Varsh and I have to see if she texts me. Boof, 12 texts. We'll get to that. And it's nothing wrong. It's just
Relationship
a lot of texts. No. But like in the cheesy action movie, and of course in all these Bollywood things, there's like musical numbers in like a lot of these movies, even where it doesn't make any fucking sense. But in this action one, it's this guy and like his wife or girlfriend or whatever, and they have this dance number together. But she's wearing like a crop top and like booty shorts.
She looks great.
And
probably.
she's smoking hot,
Yeah, yeah.
and there's like a shot of her where she's like either on a ladder or like bending over to get something. And I'm like watching the movie with Varsh's sister, and I'm like, this movie just got fucking awesome kind of thing. I'm like, ignore all the action stuff. This movie's great. And they're both like, you're disgusting. But then they like do this whole dance number, and they're like up like close to each other, and they're like like rubbing all up on each other, and they come like real close to pecking, but then don't. And Varsh's like, see, they'll never do like. Because, I'm like, but they'll do all this like gratuitous.
They're
There's like
teasing
a
you.
gratuitous boob shot and like you know, just them like doing all this like sexy dancing and like the heavy breaths and like touching each other and whatever. I'm like, so they'll do all that, but they won't do the kiss. And Varsha was saying that like if her and her parents and like her sister, or if it's just her and her parents are watching like, you know, a Western thing or whatever, and like people start kissing or whatever, like both her parents get like super uncomfortable, or like to this day still will like tell Varsha and her sister like, oh, close your eyes, don't look at that, don't watch the TV kind of thing. Like
My parents are the exact same way,
so
bro.
it's like so funny.
I think my parents don't feel that way when it's like a peck or like a quick kiss. But if it's like a makeout thing, my mom will be like, this is disgusting. Like this is horrible to watch. Like if someone's making out.
Exactly.
Or they'll be like, sometimes my dad will watch shit. Like he'll just pull up whatever's like. My dad does this thing where he'll just watch whatever's new. Like no matter, he won't look them up. He won't look up the movie.
My dad does the same thing.
He doesn't do anything. He goes, I'll be like, hey, we're gonna watch a movie together. It's gonna be great. Like this is like award winning. Like it's beloved by everybody. And they're like, oh, he's like, when did it come out? And I was like, I don't know, like 2012. And he was like, I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, it's old. Like, why are we gonna watch an old movie? That's all he thinks about. Like, he's like 2024. Other than that, I'm out. Like it has to be this year, no matter how corny or whatever it is. Like he'll watch whatever. And sometimes there's like sex scenes or something, or if it's like something like grotesque or my mom will be like, oh, changes, I can't watch this, and like she's out immediately. Yeah, my mom loves plane crashes, natural disasters, like any people like in danger, like very realistic stuff. She doesn't like any fantasy, any sci-fi, and then also any extreme R-rated stuff. It's all like she loves PG-13. Like her ideal movie, if you could pick a kind of movie, is like apocalypse, basically. Like 2012 or the one with the Liam Neeson on the plane, like that sort of shit.
Oh, or like an Armageddon, even perhaps.
Maybe nothing. Was that Aliens though?
No, am I thinking of the right one? The Michael Bay one where they go to blow up the asteroid before it hits the Earth with Bruce Willis.
I don't know.
Isn't that Armageddon?
I think it's an old movie though. She wouldn't watch an old movie.
Yeah, it's like 90s or whatever.
They watch like anything 2020 onward. That's like that sort of movie. But yeah,
how good was Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes though?
It was fantastic. It was
pretty good.
I loved it.
Real good.
Yeah. Honestly, like to me, it's like my favorite sci-fi series ever, just because like every single one is like minimum an 8 out of 10. It's just a great movie. So I loved it. It was awesome.
Yeah. Anyways,
I'm excited to watch. I'm excited to watch Mad Max. The Mad Max
Furiosa.
Furiosa. People said it was gonna be shit, and I saw that it was directed by George Miller, who directed the rest of them, who directed the one that I showed you guys, and I love that one. So I have faith. And then it came out, and all the reviews are great, and I'm like, let's go.
Saw a video on Instagram where it's George Miller and Hideo Kojima
at
the premiere.
He said he's my god,
like hugging or whatever, because fucking George Miller is inexplicably in Death Stranding 2 for some fucking reason. So it's like, this is so weird.
Kojima who did Death Stranding and the Metal Gear Solid games and stuff. He said something about like George Miller being like a genius, and this series being like his kind of his like doctrine or whatever. Like this is like it's like his like inspiration or whatever.
Oh yeah, Kojima's such a glaringly obvious movie fan.
Yeah,
it's so funny because even in like the Metal Gear stuff where it's like Solid Snake being like a call out to Big Trouble in Little China, because fucking Kurt Russell's character is Snake Plissken. So it's like Solid Snake, and in Metal Gear 2, this is gonna be so in the weeds, Solid Snake pretends to be somebody else named Plissken. So it's like, I wonder what fucking movie you're a fan of, Kojima, you nerd. Anyways, this has been a long cold open. Can we start the show now?
Last thing.
Okay,
Have you guys ever played Spike Ball before?
No.
Yeah, I played with you before.
Mark's right.
I think so.
Mark's right. Once.
Were you also there?
Yeah, like once.
Did you guys like it?
Whatever.
Oh, it's just, do you guys have no desire to play it again?
A desire? I mean, if it's like happening, I'll join in, but I'm not going to petition for it necessarily. Okay. Honestly, I really want to play tennis. I've never played before. I really want to play.
I played tennis the other day.
You did? How was it?
Yeah. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun. It was just the I think you need to be at like a proper court. The court we were at, the ball barely bounced, so it was hard to like predict and like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to like lunge for it constantly because it wasn't bouncing to you.
I want like a fresh ball, nice smooth surface.
Yeah. I think the courts by the pool there by are good. That's where Tawfiq goes to play.
Okay, let's try playing. I'd love to do that. That'd be cool. I love ping pong, and I think it's just like just enlarged ping pong that is more physical. I feel like it would be cool.
Yeah.
Can't wait to edit those things out at the end that you threw in there. That's great. Thank you.
What? You just bleep it. Yeah,
that's what I have to do.
Oh yeah.
So thanks.
Okay.
That's like.
Okay. Let's get it right into it.
Welcome back to episode 62.
7 away.
Thank you. I was about to say Malcolm's not here, so I needed somebody to do it. 7 away of Wildly Adequate, the show about anything, everything, and usually nothing. I, as always, am 1/3 this week of your host and crew, Mr. Matty Urso. And I am joined by, as always, Patrick and Mark. Look at Patrick doing a little dance. Malcolm.
What was that?
Oh, I thought we were both going to like...
What was that?
Do a little dance.
Like a Family
Try and get
Feud,
into
like
it.
Family Feud introduction.
At some point I'm going to do...
Introduce us again.
I'm joined, as always, by Patrick and Mark. Wow, that was great. At some point, I'm going to do Family Feud again as a topic.
Yes, that was so fun.
And I want to see if I can make it slightly more elaborate, but we'll see what happens. Malcolm's not here, so it's just the three amigos here.
Yeah, he's at a soccer practice.
Boring. Patrick, take it away.
Okay. All right, so...
Should I pull up what you asked me to have ready now?
Yes, please.
Is it
So...
a game?
No, we're going to do... It's not a tier list. We're going to do overrated, underrated, properly rated.
Perfectly rated.
TV shows.
Wow.
So I have a list of...
So you're
Yeah,
going more specific than last time we did this.
So we'll do... I have a list of 20 shows here, but you guys can jump in with shows that if you want to rate them.
Sure.
I have a few here that I know like only both of you watched that I haven't watched to let you guys like
How
rate
eclectic have you gone? Like, is there going to be like a Pawn Stars
it. No.
or like a Property Brothers on here?
It's all like
No.
fiction shows.
Yeah, it's all fiction. I mean, we can, if you want, we can do that. But okay, are you guys ready?
Sure.
No.
So we'll. Okay, let me know when.
Should I be Googling and putting them on here?
Oh, yeah, I
You
forgot
hadn't thought about that.
I forgot. I actually completely forgot about that.
Do I need to screen record this, or you think it's going to be fine just capturing it in camera? I mean, there's not... People don't really need to see this too much.
If you wanted
I
to make a
imagine.
clip, it would be better to screen record. If you want to make a clip, it would be better to screen record it, 'cause then you can have it in crisp definition,
Yeah,
as opposed
yeah.
to zooming in and cutting the video. Like the,
True. Probably better to have the screen record.
And we're rolling. Okay, what am I looking for?
Okay, so first I have Breaking Bad.
Okay, well, I think Breaking Bad to me is like, whenever you're talking like the best shows of all time, that show's almost always brought up.
Yeah.
With a few other shows that I won't mention because we'll probably talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Breaking Bad is regarded as one of the best shows ever, and I think it's perfectly rated. I think it should be up there.
Me too.
Yeah, I was going to say, as somebody who's never really seen Breaking
Oh,
Bad,
yeah,
I mean, I've
forget.
seen bits and
Oh.
pieces all the way through, but like not the whole thing. But based on how highly it's talked about, I would assume it's definitely not underrated.
So it's either
And-
perfectly or overrated.
But
Yeah, and I just don't think people really like. I've never really heard people be like overrated. Like I
Yeah.
feel like it's more just kind of like a universal. Like yeah, they knocked this
Excellent.
one out of the park.
Yeah.
So I would assume that's a perfectly rated.
Yeah.
you gotta watch it, dude. You gotta watch it.
There's so much, you know.
Yeah. It's one of the best. But if it's one of the best ever, you gotta up it on your list, your priority list.
Why haven't you watched it? It's because you've seen bits and pieces of it.
You know what? Well, part of it's just because I know a lot of the major beats and just kind of like how it ends and some of that shit. So it's kind of like not that appealing from that sense. But it's also just I just am not like I love TV obviously, but to me, unless it's something like that's personally a big deal, like X-Men '97 was a show that I like made, and it's also only half-hour episodes. But that was like a show that I made time to watch, and it was well worth my time. But even stuff that like I want to watch or that like I know I would enjoy, or like seasons of shows that I've already started, like I'm so far behind on so many anime that like, I'm already 5 seasons in on My Hero, and they're like season 7's coming, and it's like I haven't even fucking got to 6 yet because then
You know it's on Netflix?
My Hero.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I saw it on Netflix.
Is it all 5 seasons?
There's 6 seasons on Netflix.
There you go. So I could watch it there. It's just because I'm so busy, and it's like when I get busy, TV very quickly falls by the wayside for me, and like because video games I'm never getting rid of, and like I like reading a lot, so comics is another one. So TV usually just
And you probably
Falls
put
away.
movies above TV too.
yeah, and movies are just easier too because it's like
One and done.
I can just go to the theater or watch something at home, and yeah, like I'm in and I'm out in a couple hours, and it's not necessarily like a huge
Fair.
time commitment.
All right, Patrick, what's next?
Next, The Simpsons.
Yes.
I don't really watch The Simpsons. I mean, every time I see a clip, I laugh a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just say that I like it based on that.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking.
I'm not really sure how it's. I mean, I think people say it's like one of the better cartoons ever,
Yeah.
and so I think it's in a similar vein of Breaking Bad, where people are just like, this is like one of the best TV shows of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd probably say it's perfectly rated. I don't think it's overrated because every time I watch a clip, no matter what, I'm just like laughing. It's hilarious.
I feel like. So my train of thought right now is that I think with like the younger generations, it's just like not a
It's
thing.
underrated.
So I think that's why I would put it like
Well,
underrated.
I was thinking about that when we were talking about like, because I was thinking about a show that I've recently started watching, and because I watched the first. So I don't know if you don't have it on there, but The Bear.
I do have it on here.
Okay, so we'll talk about it after, but that's a show where I feel like people our age and younger people aren't really talking about it very much, but like critically, it's like fucking beloved, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, when I'm thinking overrated, underrated, I'm like, should I think the industry and like, you know, kind of like people in that world are like holding it up high? If it's that, are we thinking about it that way, or just like literally who we know and kind of like our age group type thing? You know?
I mean, I'm looking at it more a little like holistically.
Yeah. So what would you think then, holistically?
Well, The Simpsons is tough because I feel like the common consensus, I would settle on perfectly rated, and I feel like the common consensus is that like, yeah, first like 9-10 seasons, bangers, and then like, you know, now that we're on 32 or whatever the fuck they're at, like it just slowly, that kind of like quality level and beloved level sort of like falls off. But I feel like that's kind of universally understood about it. So I feel like that's why it's perfectly rated, because it's like everybody knows how good the initial run of it is, and everybody knows how like good to mediocre to just totally passable like the rest of it is. So I feel like it's kind of well understood all the way through. But I also think, you know, it's a pioneer in terms of like, hey, what if we made like adult animation? And it's like, you know, you don't necessarily get a Family Guy, a Archer, a Rick and Morty, etc., without The Simpsons. So as the sort of granddaddy of it all, I would settle on the perfectly rated.
Yeah, it works for me.
Alright.
Are you participating in any of these conversations in terms of where it's gonna go? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next, The Boys.
Wow.
Okay, The Boys. Should I go first, or do you want to go?
Start us off.
I have an opinion, but you can start if you want.
See, I'm a little torn on The Boys because I'm feeling underrated. That's what I'm feeling.
Really?
I'm feeling underrated because of, I guess, my personal experience talking about it with people. Like,
Yes.
not a lot of people know about it. It's like in my friends, and like I go to school and I bring it up sometimes with people I'm meeting first time, or not first time, but like trying to start conversation with people I don't really know, and they just don't know it.
You know why I feel like that is?
Why?
I feel like when you talk to certain people, they're very like, a lot of people aren't into. I don't know. It's kind of, maybe it sounds pretentious to say, but I feel like a lot of people aren't in tune and like aren't kind of locked into like what's new and good in shows and movies. You know what I'm saying? Like the more casual viewers, like the same kind of people who might be like, "Oh, Fast and Furious is my favorite movie."
Or Black Adam.
Yeah. Sure.
Also, Varsh just watched Black Adam
Yeah.
and Madam Web like 2 nights
Wow,
back to back.
that's just-
And I was like, "What are you doing?"
That's a stinker
But
both
when she was
nights.
telling me, she's like, "Yeah, I'm watching Black Adam." I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry." She's like, "Yeah, it's kind of like whatever." She didn't like hate it. She just thought like, "Yeah, it was like fine or whatever." And she was like, "Oh,
Fine."
She was like, "That Cyclone Girl and the Atom Smasher guy." She's like, "Totally useless." I said, "You're goddamn right." And Hawkman sucks. I said, "How good was my fucking boy Dr. Fate?" And
He's a
she's
beast.
like, "He's kind of, I guess, almost like a Doctor Strange." I'm like, "Fuck you." He came before Doctor Strange, and he wears a gold helmet, and he's awesome. Go on.
Yeah, so I feel like when you're talking to those sort of people, those are the kind of people that to me would be like, "Oh, I love Friends and I love Vampire Diaries."
Well, let me
And it's
just-
like, I don't really, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, let me just build on that one
Yeah.
extra layer. This is what I've actually encountered a lot too. People think it's like just another superhero thing.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's where you're dead wrong.
They're
It's
like,
not
"Oh,
just
I don't-"
another
Like,
classic
I'm sick of
superhero.
Marvel or DC.
Exactly.
Or whatever.
It's literally
It's made in
just
response.
think-
It's made in response to that.
yeah. So just think superheroes. Yeah, you're right. It is about superheroes, but just like the most twisted
Yeah, yeah.
possible version of that possible. It's not what you
I think
think
a
it
good way to
is.
describe it is like, just like the Justice League, but like fucked up and like evil.
Yeah.
And, like, you know.
I've definitely had, just to continue this a little, I've definitely had the thought, because, you know, I've had the thought for a long time of like, what if I wanted to try my hand at making like YouTube videos and video essays and stuff like that? And I feel like so many people harp on like, oh, superheroes, it's so overplayed out, or blah blah, or like, oh, Marvel sucks lately, like the superhero genre is dead and all this stuff and blah blah. And the boys, Invincible, and speaking of My Hero Academia, are like what I've always thought would be my 3 like bulletproof kind of examples
Bullet
of
point?
like like rock solid points of like, no, like the superhero genre is alive and well, and it's not all just Marvel and DC stuff. Like, look at these 3 examples that are doing like The Boys, which is just a complete parody of it all, like Invincible, which is a total celebration of superhero stuff, and like My Hero, which is, you know, the ultimate, what if you took Western superhero stuff and just slammed it together with anime kind of thing. So with The Boys, it's tough when people are like, isn't it just like another superhero thing? It's like, you're kind of
you
missing
couldn't be
the whole
more wrong. You just couldn't
point
be more wrong
of the thing.
To me, what I was thinking about The Boys is like, again, I think it's critically beloved, and most people I talk to who have seen it love it. So I don't know. I feel like I definitely wouldn't say underrated. I was thinking either perfectly or even maybe over, because I know a lot of people talk about it. Maybe it's just because of what I follow on Instagram.
Yeah.
A lot of people are always like making memes about it, commenting about how incredible it is, and like whenever there's like, oh, what's your favorite show right now? It's like a lot of people say The Boys.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think it's overrated. I think it's an amazing show and it's worth the hype. Maybe it's sometimes to me a little overhyped, but I would settle for perfectly rated. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for the 3-peat and say perfectly rated.
Same.
I will say though, as we approach the 4th season, what day is the 4th season? I know it's
June. Is it 4?
I don't know.
because by the time this comes out, the 4th season might have already started.
It's
I will
June
say,
4 or 5, something like that.
and because I know they've already announced the 5th season before the 4th season's come out, my one worry with The Boys is that they're gonna drag it out too long.
That'd be upsetting.
Because even by the 3rd season, loved it. Introduction of Soldier Boy and all that stuff, fantastic. But like the way the 3rd season kind of ended, not so much the end shit with Homelander like fucking murdering that guy in public and everybody like still loving him, but more the thing of like when they have the big fight. Is it Vought Tower? I don't know if it's in Vought Tower. But when it's like,
or like in the
Maeve
studio,
and all the boys and Soldier Boy and like the kid and like Homeland, like when they're all in there having that big final fight kind of thing, and then it just kind of ends in like another stalemate for the 3rd time of like everybody just kind of going back to their corner, licking their wounds, and just the sort of like, we'll get you next time kind of thing. Like, I guess that is in a way inherently superhero fiction. Like that's kind of how it plays out over and over again. But there's a part of me that's kind of like, if the 4th season's a lot of build up again of like, we're going to go get Homelander, and then like it ends with this big fight against Homelander. And I understand you can't kill Homelander until you end the show, because he's like arguably the best part of it. So it's like, and him and Butch are like the perfect kind of at odds thing. So you can't really do with one on their own kind of thing. But there is just a slight part of me of like, okay, you're doing season 4. You've just announced 5. Like this really needs to be a show that by like 5 or 6 seasons, like a Breaking Bad, you're like ending it and not turning it into the fucking Walking Dead.
You know what I feel
like here's 12 seasons and like a million spin-offs kind of thing.
You know what I feel like the problem with The Boys is like, I think because it's so in your face and like violent and aggressive, and like it has this very like charming, like it's like a niche, right, that it's hitting. I feel like the longer that it goes on, the more that people are less excited about it. Because to me, I'm excited to watch the new season, but not that excited compared. I was way more excited to watch season 2 when it came out, and then now I'm like, okay, like I've watched the same kind of interactions for 3 seasons. Like Homelander's crazy, he's aggressive, he's unpredictable. Like it's never boring necessarily, but I've come to feel comfortable with the show, and so now I'm like,
you know what to expect.
I'm not like super hyped about the new season. Like I'm excited to watch it, but I don't know. I feel like I'm starting to get to the point of, I feel like maybe they should start wrapping it up soon at some point and like have a finish to the story, because I don't know how much what else they can do. Like I don't know. Yeah. That's why I might even personally be more in the overrated section, but I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Did you guys watch Squid Game?
No.
I have not.
Okay, perfect. So we don't need to talk about that one then. So if not Squid Game, then let's go to Stranger Things. I rewatched the first season actually
Recently?
at work. Yeah. Well, not at work, but like
on the job.
not at work. Hold on.
Here we go.
Not at work. But recently, yeah, I watched I rewatched the first season. It's just so good, bro.
Dude, I love it. Here's the thing.
It just made me so excited about it again.
Yeah,
Just
right?
rewatching the first season.
It's very rewatchable too.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very like wholesome and sweet, but also like funny and dramatic, and I don't know. It's to me it's like a really good, well-rounded show.
Mm-hmm.
I actually haven't seen the newest season yet. I watched up until season 3, and season 3 is my favorite season. I love it. I'm in the middle of like rewatching season 2. I kind of just paused, but I think I'll restart.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, like I have to say overrated just because of how much people talked about it, even to the point of where I just wanted to stop watching it because like no one would shut up about it. So I'm gonna go overrated, but I think it's a great show.
Okay.
I just don't. I think people like a lot of people it's like it's their favorite show ever. I don't think it's like masterpiece quality. I think it's like great, but I'm gonna go overrated. I think.
I'm gonna go with a 4-peat here and say perfectly rated.
How do you feel like it's rated?
I think it's rated very highly, and that's well earned and like deserved. I'm sure there's some of it out there, but I don't necessarily get the sense that it's like an overhyped or like overrated thing. My only thing with it, like from a personal perspective, Stranger Things now is kind of at the point for me where I feel like The Boys is going to get where with Stranger Things I am like after the 4th season, which originally was supposed to be. It was only supposed to be 4 seasons, and then they're like, we're going to do like a 5th final one.
Do you guys like it, the 4th season?
I really like the 4th season, but I'm
never
at
seen
a
I haven't watched the fourth
similar...
season yet.
Really?
No.
I'm at a similar point now where I'm kind of like, this is still fantastic, but like, we should probably be like wrapping this up now. So the fact that apparently, like they originally planned with the 4th, that the 5th is like, yes, this is it, we're done kind of thing. I'm like, good. Like, let's
Put this to
end
bed.
this already before it goes too far.
I think that's the consensus that even today I read like there was like a post being like, first image release of season 5, and all the comments were like, the kids are gonna be 30 by this point. Like, everybody was like, can we end this show already? Like this is dragging on a little bit. So I think that to me that's a part of maybe why I said overrated, because I feel like a lot of people are feeling like we're kind of done with this show. Like it's great, but like don't drag it on too long. I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm personally, I love it. It's a great show, but because of how much insane hype it got and how much like people were like, this is the best show ever.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it that high. So I feel like I'm just trying to think of generally how people feel about it. I feel like I love it, but not as much as it was made out to be.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely not going to say underrated. Oh, overrated is down here. I'm definitely not going to say underrated.
I don't mind meeting you guys up perfectly if you want to go there, because I think it's beloved because it's a great show. I don't think it's like way overrated, but I think it might be slightly overrated. Like
honestly,
are we using the orange in the in between spots? Because to me, like in between overrated and you guys want to do that, or just do like what I'm saying?
I was gonna actually meet you at overrated, to be honest. I think
Yeah?
you were making a lot of sense to me, to be
But
honest.
if you guys
I'm fine with just the 3 categories. But the other thing with overrated too is I feel like they also like, I guess what I'm about to say is not technically feasible or correct, but like the objective quality of the show, barring necessarily the sort of like discourse about it, where I'm like, to me it's like, yes, Stranger Things, even if people were coming out being like it's the worst show ever kind of thing, like then I guess it would be more in the underrated thing. But to me, I'm just like, the fact that it has all this like goodwill and positivity about it like is well earned because of how good it is in so many ways, which is to me why I'm like, I don't know if I would necessarily go to the overrated
here's my
camp.
here's my suggestion. If you guys want to do it, we could do like underrated, slightly underrated, perfectly rated, slightly overrated, and then overrated. We could do that because to me it falls more in between. I don't feel comfortable saying it's overrated, but I don't feel comfortable saying it's perfectly rated either. But if you guys don't want to do that, then we can just kind of go with majority. It's up to you guys.
I think we should just stick with majority.
Okay, then let's do overrated.
Yeah, let's put overrated.
Okay.
Fuck you, Stranger Things.
Okay, what's next, Patrick?
Next, we'll do beef. So this is gonna be you and I
Beef.
here.
Have not seen it.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh,
Just search up beef
Beef
Netflix.
I'm using
yeah.
the picture.
No, don't use that picture. Use beef Netflix. Man.
we want
Beef.
No, well, the rest of them are gonna be like the show. Come on. You gotta do beef Netflix.
I want what's his name, Glenn from Walking Dead.
Beef Netflix. Beef cuts. He's gonna.
Jesus.
What?
Really, Google, they're really not helping me here.
This is adding to what I was gonna say, which is underrated.
1,000%
I think
underrated.
I think
Nobody talks. Here's the
nobody
thing.
talks about it. I didn't know it was a thing until a year later.
Dude, you know why? Okay, here's why. It's it's not a very like I don't know. I don't think the kind of marketing for the show was like super like big. There wasn't like a lot of shit talking about it. I think it kind of flew under the radar for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I also feel like it's like, you know, it's like A24, and I don't know, a lot of people don't know about A24. A lot of, again, casual movie watchers, casual TV show watchers, they won't even know what A24 is or any of the shit that they produce. And yeah, it's not as popular, I guess. But to me, it's like I don't hear anybody talking about it, but critically, it is like everyone who reviews it and talks about it is like, this is a masterpiece of a show. But socially, it's highly underrated. So I'm just going based on overall. I feel like it's not talked about that much.
Yeah. I agree with you. Do yourself a favor, if you haven't watched Beef yet,
dude, it's incredible.
close this
Please.
podcast. Actually, you know what? Finish this podcast.
I was gonna
episode,
say.
yeah.
Finish this episode.
Comments.
Press on the red N and get to work.
You know what I love about Beef too is that it's a mini series. I love
Yeah.
mini series. It's like one season and it's excellent and it's done.
And then it's done.
I don't
yeah.
want to I don't want to feel like I'm being dragged on for 10 seasons.
Yeah. They
it's an
did that
unbelievable
well.
show.
Yeah, they
You gotta
made a good
watch that
decision with
show.
that.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Or is this gonna be like another Costco where we're
Maddie
we're
would-
hyping it up
Maddie-
too much?
Maddie
and-
would love Maddie would love Beef.
My
Maybe
parents,
like
I
it,
saw
yeah.
bits and pieces of it too because my parents just watched it like a month or two ago. So I was like in the room sometimes when they were watching parts of it, and I like saw moments here and there that seemed interesting. Shout out Andrew Santino for being in the show.
So you
Yeah,
just
he's great.
know
He's great in that
you
show.
just know every show. Then you just have bits and pieces of every show.
I wouldn't say that. But no, but I would agree with Beef being underrated because it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, the people who've seen it love it, but it's not necessarily, I mean, it just won like a bunch of Emmys and shit,
Yeah.
but it's not necessarily like,
Socially recognized. I think.
it's not, yeah, it hasn't blown up like some of these other shows. So
And to me, what I like about like what I think you should watch it because it's not demanding of you. You know, like it's not demanding of your time.
sure.
It's like you can literally get it done in like a couple days.
I definitely appreciate a miniseries too, especially in like other mediums, even where it's like, yes, I like, a comic, for example, like Invincible, that's like long as shit. But I also do appreciate every once in a while where it's like, hey, here's like a 6-issue, one and done, like you're in and you're out kind of miniseries.
Dude, I still gotta read the one you got for me too.
Low,
Yeah, because you got me the bigger one, no?
which is the whole thing.
That thing that you got me is like the entire thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Low's nice. Where Low is only like I forget what it is.
5
but I think
volumes
it's
or
maybe like 26 issues or something.
How many volumes is that?
It's 5 of the trades in total. So yeah, it's like 5 volumes, but it's only like 26 issues. Like it didn't run super long. And that's
I
another one where it's like that's nice because it's not too bad.
I love digestible shit like that because to me it's like the longer a show goes, the lesser the impact, in my opinion. Like no matter what, like the longer the show goes, the less like whatever the message of the show is or however it makes you feel. Like the longer it is, I feel like that starts to be diminished at some
Yeah.
point. Like The Office, for example, it's just it's a sitcom, so it's kind of there's not I don't know maybe a message to it necessarily, but I felt like that show was like could have been. It's still huge and mega popular, but I feel like people would have respected it a lot more and been like, this is genuinely like a beautiful piece of comedy if they finished it when Michael left, for example. Because now everyone says, oh, I love The Office, but after Michael left, it sucked.
Yeah.
Like that's the
Yeah.
kind of thing that people say about it. Or same with The Walking Dead. Amazing first few seasons. The first season in the city, the second season in the farm or whatever. Third season prison, amazing. And then like 5 seasons of just like walking around in the forest. Like,
Yeah,
I
it's,
don't know.
Well, when it comes to long shit like that, I'm fine with things that are long, and I think
It's not
there are
inherently
things
things,
that
yeah,
do it
yeah.
like really well. It just depends, and I also have to be in the right headspace. Like again, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, 68 hours. It came out February 29th.
Yeah.
I have been playing it for all intents and purposes since March. We're midway through May.
Let's
Like,
talk
that
about
was 2.5 months
Yeah.
of one game. Loved every second of it. Had an amazing time. Awesome. But it's like I don't want every game to be
Sure.
an almost 70-hour thing.
But let's talk about shows. Like, what do you think is a show that's really long that's amazing, and like doesn't stutter step at all? Because to me, it's hard for me to even think of one that is like 8 to 10 seasons plus, and it's like every one is incredible and they nailed it and they ended it perfectly. I just feel like I can't think of that because almost always it ends for a reason, which is it kind of dies, as opposed to them deciding like the creators being like, we've done our story, this is it.
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that could be a good.
How
But
many
that
seasons though?
I don't know.
4 or 5, or was it
Well,
6?
No, I think it was more. I think
I
it might have
thought
been
it
like
was
8
9.
or something.
Was it that many?
Yeah, I think that's one of the few shows that has like upwards of 10 seasons, and no one complained about the quality reducing. And I think it's one of those things where I think they ended it though, like number one sitcom in the world or whatever.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and
There
then,
you
like I think their last episode had like the most viewers in a finale ever or some crazy shit.
Yeah.
So like, and
we
then
kind of touched on a few shows here that I have here. Do we want to like while we're
Pivot?
talking about them, like
Yeah, let's pivot.
Sure, 'cause
ranking
we're-
real quick. So let's do Office. Office is one that we brought up.
Here's the thing. Can I start with The Office?
Yeah, go for it.
I love The Office. It's a hilarious show. I love it, but I think it's overrated. I just feel like, to me, okay, whenever you talk to people, it's like Matty, if you were to walk around and just ask people, let's say if you were like in college on campus, what's your favorite show ever? The amount of people that would say Friends and on The Office is like crazy.
Yeah.
So I feel like just for that reason alone, just because it's probably one of the most popular shows of all time, and because a lot of people cite it as their favorite show ever. I've heard many people cite it that way. I would say it's overrated socially. I don't even know how it did critically, to be honest. I don't think people
critically,
really...
I think it did really well.
Okay, so I think generally it's an overrated show. I love it though, but I just feel like it's overrated.
I'm in complete agreement. I love The Office. It's undeniably like, one of the greats. Like, no disrespect, but I think it's overrated just because part of it for me too is because I think it outshines what I've always considered the far superior spiritual successor in Parks and Recreation. Because I think Parks and Rec is just
Have you watched it?
Yeah.
such a better, and it's done by the same people, but I just think it's such a better show than The Office. And I think it has, like, The Office hinges on...
No, I don't watch Parks and Rec again.
The Office hinges on, like, Steve Carell, John Krasinski, fucking Jenna Fisher, and what's his face? Dwight. Why am I
Rainn
blanking on
Wilson.
his name? Rainn Wilson. Like, it hinges on that central core, and it hinges on, like, Michael's character, Dwight's character, and then, like, fucking Jim and Pam kind of thing. And I'm like, all right, all that's fun, great, whatever, and you have the side cast. But to me, it's like Parks and Rec just does all of those things way better.
So would you rate Parks and Rec?
Is it on there?
It wasn't on here, but
Parks and
we're
Rec for
talking
me
about it.
would be either perfectly rated or
Under.
maybe underrated.
It's
I would
absolutely-
say under.
Dude,
I would
it's way-
absolutely
Purely
say under.
because it's the opposite side of the coin of what I'm talking about
Yeah.
with The Office, where I feel like everybody's like, "Oh, The Office," and I'm like, "Oh, do you ever see Parks and Rec?
No.
The better
No.
show?" And people are, "No, what
Dude,
the fuck is
the amount
that?"
of people, most people I've talked to that when I bring up Parks and Rec, they're like, I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
They've never even heard of it, let
Yeah.
alone watch it.
I'm in a
Ron
complete agreement.
Swanson alone, one of my 5 TV heroes, makes Parks and Rec like
He's
worth
funny.
it,
Ron,
kind of thing.
Leslie, Ben, like, who else? Who's the?
But I also, there's things like, I just feel like the supporting cast is better. Like, Andy's great,
Oh,
April's
man.
great, Donna's
Oh,
great,
yeah.
Tom's great, fucking Chris and Ann. Like, I feel like the supporting cast is all
What's
Rob Lowe.
What's his character's
Chris.
name? What's his character's name?
Chris
What's his last name?
Traeger.
Chris Traeger.
Yeah,
What's his line that he says a lot? Doesn't he have,
and
like,
Perkins.
Oh yeah, and Perkins.
Like, and Tom, fucking Aziz Ansari, and
Oh yeah,
Larry
Aziz is
Gary.
Forgot
great.
about Aziz Ansari.
Larry Gary. Every name they give him, Gurgich. Like, I feel like
Yeah. He's
Gary
so
Gergich.
good,
the
bro.
core cast I just find is like way better than The Office, and then I feel like what it has over The Office too is just all the like side ancillary characters of like Jeremy Jam, the fucking councilman, and like
you got jammed.
you just got jammed, and fucking Purd, the news guy, and like the daytime TV show host lady that I forget.
Oh yeah, the
and,
one who's like always drunk.
who's like all who's always
Yeah.
Joan Calamezzo or whatever,
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
the lady who works as like the reporter, like all these different little side characters. Fucking my dad and I always laugh at Sewage Joe, who sends the dick pics to like everybody. Like, I feel like even all the like
That was great.
even all the characters who some of them only pop up in like an episode or
Who
two.
plays? Who is that? Kirk Fox?
It's a comedian, but I forget the.
Can you search up Sewage Joe? I think it's Kirk Fox. Dude, he's great. Is it this guy?
Yes, yeah. It's
Yeah,
Kirk
no,
Fox.
he's great. He's great.
The Sewage Joe. So it's like I just feel like everything about Parks and Rec is like
It's a
you
better
know,
show.
It's just better than The Office, yet it never had
Yeah, the
the,
shine of
like,
it.
the hype,
shine.
the-
And I feel like
yeah.
it also people are always, especially like, well, not to solely put it on them, but I feel like the Jim and Pam thing also appealed to all like a more kind of female audience too
rom-com-y, yeah.
in like The Office. And I'm like, so Parks and Rec did that with Ben and Leslie. They did it with Chris and Ann, and they did it with Andy and April, kind of thing. Like, and to a smaller degree with like Ron and fucking what's the one?
I don't remember
I forget
the
his like
mom.
the mom with the 2 kids. Speaking of side characters, Tammy 1 and Tammy 2, like both of his
Bro,
ex-wives.
they're hilarious, bro.
So
I
it's
love like getting to know his
Every
ex-wives.
episode with them and his ex-wives is hilarious. When one of the Tammys when it's her and then
Tammy
Ron's,
1 and Tammy 2.
when it's her and Ron's mom doing the drinking contest to
with the
take
moonshine.
Ron with the homemade moonshine and
Yeah.
Leslie gets in on it. Like my dad and I always fucking laugh at that of like Leslie getting in on it and Ron just like, don't do that. Like we use it to take varnish off of boats and shit. Like don't drink
Dude,
that.
one of my favorite things is when Ron gets giddy about something. Like he's like the most straight laced guy, and then he was like playing football with Andy, and like they like broke a window or something, and he was like, and they ran away, and he's like all laughing and shit.
Yeah, Ron's
it's
just
hilarious.
Ron is my
So
everything.
good.
He's the man I aspire to be. So
Great
yeah,
show.
shout out Parks and Rec, The Office, whatever.
Love it.
And Parks and Rec, to be fair, also jumped the shark a little. Like when Ann and Chris did leave, that definitely hurt the show. And then when they tried introducing like some of the newer late character additions,
The
they brought
yelling
on,
guy?
like the yelling guy that was always kind of whatever. Like there was definitely, Parks and Rec ran along too much too kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
We
The
also
Office is just
we also brought up Seinfeld, which is on here. If we want to put that, I think we're all probably gonna say properly rated.
I don't think so.
I
mean,
think so.
I think critically and then respect wise in the industry, it's
Okay.
like perfectly rated as like
Yeah.
a masterpiece. It's a great show.
Mm-hmm.
But I think socially, like again, same thing like what Matty was saying.
Mm-hmm.
99% of the people that I talk to our age have never even seen an episode.
That's true.
I genuinely believe that. Like socially, it's not given the respect that it deserves from our peers, from people our age. If you're talking like
Yeah.
our parents' generation, then like definitely, like not
Yeah.
our parents because immigrants
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
in,
yeah.
but like parents who our parents' generations, if they grew up here, like
Yeah.
people love and respect the show. But I feel like it's almost talked about like to zero our age. I think.
I would put it perfectly rated just because, again, I'm looking at it a little more holistically, and I
Sure.
just think like it's considered the GOAT
I think
kind of thing.
I think Mark makes a good point because there shows from that era too, like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, that does have
People our age love
people
it.
our age
But- no, but-
watch it. and
Sure,
they
but
like
I would
it.
also put that as a little more overrated.
Okay, well we can do that one.
Because
saying-
next.
you're saying it-
Fresh Prince has maybe like more cultural relevance
Yeah.
to our generation, but I don't think it has the quality, which is why to me it's like
Okay.
But to
I
me,
would put it more in the overrated thing. Whereas Seinfeld might not have the cultural relevance necessarily,
Yeah.
but I think it's got every other metric where it's like, yep, like that's
But-
deserves to be
But-
where it is kind of
But
thing.
that's why, to me, I almost wish there was that in between spot because to me, it's like I'm thinking about it in two ways, like I said earlier, like socially and then critically, or like in the industry.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's like in one category it is underrated, and in the other category it's perfectly rated.
Yeah.
So I just don't know what to finally fall into.
To me, I just
Because-
put less salt into like the social relevance thing because even
put
something like
more.
I don't fucking know. Like if we were doing this with movies,
Yeah.
nobody our age outside of like people who like movies and stuff gives a flying fuck about The Godfather. But it's like, so are we gonna say The Godfather's underrated? Like, of course not. The Godfather's like perfectly rated, sort of thing. Even though it's like an older thing.
That's a
Even
good
older
point.
TV shows, like way older. My dad and I love Taxi and the creators who then went on to make Cheers, and my dad loves Cheers kind of thing. And it's like, would I consider Cheers underrated in the sense that nobody our age has ever seen an episode of Cheers in their life? Sure, but Cheers is also considered like a Seinfeld, one of those greats, which to me it's more like, yeah, and maybe it's not like relevant now, but it's still fine.
So maybe it's not. Maybe it's not fair to. Maybe I should be weighing the critical acclaim of it and the kind of like impact over time more than socially, because you're saying like it's not our generation's fault that it's before our time type thing. I guess.
Sure, yeah, because to me, I just think like it's different from like a Parks and Rec, because Parks and Rec, I would make the argument more that like people know and are more familiar with The Office
came out when we were,
than
like, yeah.
Parks and Rec.
Sure.
But I feel like Parks and Rec was after The Office, so they're contemporaries, and like people should know Parks and
Sure.
Rec, but just don't or have never given it a chance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that's a different ignorance than
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like this Cheers from the 70s
Okay.
and the 80s that like.
I've been swayed. I'll do perfect.
I've also been swayed.
I'll
Perfect.
do perfect.
So I think the social element has weight. It just depends on like.
The case, yeah.
Okay, let's get Fresh Prince in here because you brought
Wow.
or who brought it up?
I'm
I don't know.
gonna bow out of this
Okay.
one because I've seen maybe like one or two episodes.
Okay.
So I really don't have a gauge on how good I like the show or
Okay.
anything. But I'm gonna take off my sweater because it's hot.
So Matty, you would say it's overrated.
Here's the thing.
I can't disagree more, to be honest.
I
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the sense of like I've seen some of Fresh Prince, but not necessarily enough to speak like super
Confidently about it. authoritatively.
authoritatively on it. To me, it's just I compare it with like. If we were doing this with movies, nobody our age outside of like people who like movies and stuff gives a flying fuck about The Godfather. But it's like, so are we gonna say The Godfather's underrated? Like, of course not. The Godfather's like perfectly rated, sort of thing.
Yeah.
other shows of like the same time period
Yeah.
or like similar ilk. And so to me, it's like when I think of like 90s things like that, like I think of like And Everybody Loves Raymond, which I fucking love the shit out of. Or I think of, stick with me now, like a Cosby Show, which say what you will now about it, but the Cosby Show on its own, isolated from all context,
Yeah.
great fucking show
Have you
kind
guys
of
seen, have
thing.
you guys seen a show called the King of Queens?
Yes, King of Queens, Kevin James.
Kevin James.
It's pretty
I
good.
don't know if you know Kevin James. He
Yeah.
plays like the big guy in Grown Ups.
Yeah.
The meme.
Yeah, the meme, right? The one, the hands in the pocket. That meme is kind of like. I've seen clips of he was like the star of a sitcom called King of Queens, and like there's like some clips that are hilarious out there that I've seen like just pop up on my reels and stuff.
Yeah.
So I want to check that show out. That would be like a show I'd say is underrated because like I don't hear anybody talking about it ever.
So Fresh Prince, when I compare it to similar ilk, I would think
And
it's
dude, he hit that ilk so hard.
I would think it's maybe a little overrated. I feel like the way people talk about it is similar, not quite to the heights, but similar of like a Friends, which is why I would
think it's like a
maybe
tier down,
teeter
but-
on the overrated, where I'm like, it's good, it's funny, like, and I know, again, stick with me, similar to a Cosby Show. The fact that it was like this focus on like this black family and all that, like it has a sort of like a certain amount of cultural significance to it and all that. And so I'm not like taking away from it, any of that shit.
Oh, you are.
But it's just like I look at it and I'm like, yeah, it's really good, but like, all right, like I don't know if I would consider it. So where are we putting Fresh Prince?
I'm willing to go overrated with
Patrick's
you.
getting up and checking the cameras. I think you're fine.
I'm willing. To
I wouldn't fight you on perfectly rated, Patrick. Again, not being like the
Here's the
most
thing.
familiar with it.
Patrick, how would you describe its rating in your opinion?
So
Like not your opinion. Like how do you feel like it's generally rated by people?
generally, I feel like people think it's really good,
Like
but
how
they
high
don't
would-
like. They don't. My understanding is that people don't go off and say like
It's the
it's the
greatest.
best show of the '90s or
I
it's the
agree with
best
you.
show of all
Yeah,
time.
they
You
don't-
know what I'm
Sure.
saying?
No one really does that.
So in that sense, I think it's perfectly rated because it is, like you said, it's funny, and I think the whole cast, like they're all charismatic in their own way, and I think the performances are really good on that show.
Shout out Will
And
Smith
they're good.
pre-slap.
They're, what did you say?
I said shout out Will Smith pre-slap.
Oh, very good.
that changed his whole career. Huh?
It really did.
That really changed.
You know what's
the
so weird?
perception
Just
of-
before you go, Patrick, is I saw
Yeah.
some trailer the other day for a movie like he's in that's coming up, and like seeing him in it for a half second, I was like, huh. Like I'd almost like just blotted him out of my mind
But he
in
did
a
it-
weird way. So like seeing him again, like in a movie, was like,
Didn't he do like?
oh yeah, I guess he's. Oh, it was fucking Bad Boys. That there's no
Oh.
Bad Boys, and seeing him, that I was like, oh yeah, I guess he's still like is this uber famous actor like making movies and stuff.
I think right after the slap, King Richard came out. That movie that he played like the tennis coach or whatever.
Wasn't
that
that
came out. Was it
Leading
before?
up to that, like before the Oscars, because he won that. Yeah, that was the Oscar
But I'm
he
saying-
won.
Oh, he won that night where he
Yeah,
slapped him.
yeah, he slapped him and won the
So
Oscar.
he hasn't
that
done
night.
anything since that except for Bad Boys.
I have no idea. It's just that's the first thing I feel like I've seen him in
It's,
in
like,
any
big,
like
it's com-
popular way
okay.
since then, and it was just like a little odd of like, oh yeah, I guess he's still
Mm.
uber famous doing his thing. Anyways, go on.
And just last thing to the cultural relevance point, I
Mm.
appreciate that the show, the actors are able to make the show serious when it calls for it,
Sure.
Mm.
and so it's
lot- a
not
lot of
like it's
sitcoms
not out of
don't do that.
place when they do it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
There's
It
that
feels
scene
right.
I always think of from Fresh Prince. I forget the context of it, but isn't it him and his uncle?
Mm-hmm.
There's some scene between them that I see floating around on
Isn't
like
that he's
Instagram
crying
or
or-
something.
and hugging
Yeah,
him
where
or
like he's
something? Yeah,
crying
yeah.
and
Oh,
hugging.
yeah.
I forget what the scene is, but I see it like floating around every
Yeah,
once in a
yeah.
while. That like
It's about his yeah. I know the scene you're talking about. Yeah.
mhm.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Next
We
show.
understand.
What where
Do we
put
want
it?
to kind
didn't
of
put it
stop
anywhere.
here?
We didn't put it
Oh, yeah. I was saying I'm saying properly rated.
Sure.
Okay.
If
Do we
you
want
We can rattle off some of these at a slightly
Okay, yeah,
faster
we can
clip
do.
if you
we
want.
can do
Okay.
at a bit
Let's do it.
a bit of a faster pace here. I think you should leave. The comedy show, the sketch show.
Yeah, I don't know. I almost don't want to do this one because I feel like it's not. I don't know. It would be like me. It almost feels like if you were to do this for like SNL or something, you know. It feels like kind of weird to do it for a
Yeah,
sketch
it's a
comedy
little
show.
different.
It's a little out of like place with what we have here. Is
Yeah,
what you're saying.
it's very different than any other format of show.
Yeah.
I would maybe settle on like an underrated purely just because like I know it's popular and the people that like it, but it's
Yeah.
not necessarily
The
like
zeitgeist.
I don't know. It's not like a Key and Peele level,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
everybody, or like a Chappelle show before
That's
that
true.
kind of thing.
Yeah, most people I've shown it to have never seen it before.
Yeah.
They'll be like, what is that?
And I feel like
I'm good
people
with
who do
Underrated.
know I Think You Should Leave is all from like
Adore it.
Instagram clips.
True.
You know.
Yeah, like the 55 burgers, 55 fries.
Yes.
Like people were citing that having not seen any of the show. Just like that was like posted everywhere on.
Oh.
Or the zipline thing, that zipline clip
Yeah.
from the dating show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we settled on
Yeah.
underrated. Okay. Next, I was gonna say The Last of Us. So I'm bowing out of this one because this one is just you two. I haven't seen.
I
that
think
one.
it's perfectly rated. I think it was very popular when it came out. People were talking about it who had never even played the game. A lot of people I knew who had never played the game were talking about it, and they loved it. And critically, it did amazing. So I think it was held in very high esteem, and people loved it. And I think it's deserved. I'm gonna go perfectly rated for that one.
Yeah, I would go perfectly because they basically just did the first game with not
Yeah.
too many changes, and I would say the same thing about the first game that I would about the show, where it's like, yes, it's obviously the GOAT.
Incredible, yeah.
So no ifs, ands, or buts on that one.
Yeah.
Smiling Friends.
Wow, my beloved.
Underrated. I think I'm gonna go underrated.
Definitely underrated.
Not many people I know talk about it, and I feel like it has like a cult following, you know, like people who are like love it, absolutely adore it.
Yeah.
But not that many people are talking about it.
Yeah.
I would go underrated on Smiling Friends. Here's the thing with Smiling Friends, and I've never felt this in my life with anything really, until recently. And like Smiling Friends, similarly, I feel like I hope it doesn't have the same effect. But Rick and Morty, love the shit out of that show. But I've never had this happen in my life where I was like a hipster with something.
Before it blew up.
Because I love Rick and Morty, and I remember like finding it and getting into it when it was just the first 2 seasons. And then like the 3rd season came out with like, and it was Pickle Rick and like the Szechuan sauce, and it kind of like broke through finally
It wasn't
Yeah.
cool
to
anymore.
like a mainstream thing. And I had that thought of like, I kind of like this more when it was a more like niche
That was Stranger Things to me.
thing,
Dude, that was
when
Stranger
it
Things.
wasn't like a beloved thing. And now like there's 6 seasons of Rick and Morty out, and I know the 7th is coming. The 6th was the first one
I want
without
them to just
Justin.
stop.
The 6th was the first without Justin Roiland.
That-
But I watched up to I think 5, and I haven't seen 6. Like I think I've seen everything up to before Justin Roiland, like they kicked
Yeah.
him off the show kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I haven't seen the most recent seasons without him, which I hear just as good as everything else. Like
Okay.
still an awesome show kind of thing, and I'd
Okay.
like to get to it at some point. But there's almost a small part of me that's like, it's so like pervasive now
Yeah.
that I'm kind of like,
Lost its shine a little bit.
like it's not like a priority like event television like it was for me when it's like, oh shit, new season, like I'm gonna
Yeah.
fucking watch every episode. Smiling Friends is in a similar place where it's like it has this kind of cult following and this like very internet centric following, which I think is also largely because of the people who like made it being these more kind of like cult internet figures. And like with season 2 now, like seeing the amount of like Gwimbly memes that came out and how quickly people
Ew,
just
ew, ew.
jumped on it and like started making all these like animations and like fan things and all these things of like, yeah, like trying to make it a real thing of like, yeah, don't you remember like the 90s classics Gwimbly? And then people who just like make like not playable games but like gameplay footage of like an N64 era fucking Gwimbly game. Like it's really popular, but I feel like Smiling Friends is like specifically with the first season, but it's already getting there with the second season where it's like I feel like I'm seeing normies in quotes like talk about it or be like, yeah, I like Smiling Friends and this, that, thing, and the other, and I'm kind of like,
Not quite. They're
it's
there.
not Rick and Morty yet, but I feel like it's already on that
Could get there.
trajectory of like it's gonna kind of become that.
But that's the reason why. I haven't even gotten to the new Stranger Things season, because when it came out, like on Instagram every day for like a month, I would just see like the something what's her name, something Chrissy wake up or whatever, or like I'd see like, you know, the picture of like one of the characters like floating being possessed or whatever. Like every single day people are posting a video of this and like an edit, and then that song that blew up, the Kate Bishop yeah, that one, yeah. So I feel like it got so big where I'm just like almost roll my eyes. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of done hearing about it.
It's very rare. That happens almost never for me because like Rick and Morty is the only real example of that I can even think of, almost, because I'm very much like I don't give a shit about other people's like thoughts or opinions or like reviews and all that shit. Like if it's something I like or I want to check out, like I'll watch it kind of thing, and I don't really care. And it's fun, like even with X-Men '97, like it's fun to be watching it like week to week and be part of the sort of like caught up in the zeitgeist of it, of like people talking about it and like all the posts and shit of like, you know, what's gonna happen next episode, or did you see this crazy fucking cameo kind of thing, like all this fun shit. So that normally doesn't bug me, but there was just something about Rick and Morty where it was like something that I loved so much, and I still do really like it, but it was something that I was like so up its ass that when it became this more like mainstream, like everybody knows Rick and Morty kind of thing, there was a part of me that was almost like, ooh.
And then like merch. People just wear merch for it all the time.
Yeah.
Which like it was to me, it's like I used to be the only person in like a Rick and Morty shirt, but it's like now it's just everywhere kind of thing. So it's just
Here's another.
I'm just another one of these
I think
people.
he's casual.
So it's just like it's lost. I feel like it's just lost that slight bit of like
that magic to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Something I appreciate about Smiling Friends, and that I also like why I also think it's underrated, is the like it's such a simple show, but it still has, I feel like, a high level of complexity almost.
It's super
to it.
nuanced.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, I feel like there's so much shit where it's like the most subtle joke.
Exactly.
Just like a kind of expression, or like, I feel like a lot of times when we lose our shit laughing at it, it's because someone said something that's super relatable, and that's like no one ever thought to put in a show or a movie before.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's incredibly well written, and it nails like almost like an Office or Parks and Rec style, like kind of dry humor of like just people talking about stuff. But I feel like Smiling Friends very rarely goes for like the big swing
No, it's all
gags
subtle.
or jokes and bits, and it's more just like two people having a perfectly normal conversation, and like how normal and mundane it is like what's funny about it kind of thing. Like I just saw the clip going around the other day when the fucking frowning friends are around, and then like the Renaissance men pull up at the end of the episode, which is like reference the whole episode of like, oh, did you hear the Renaissance men are coming to town? And the Renaissance men pull up on the horses and just like kill the frowning friends kind of thing. And Pim's all like, what the hell is that? And Charlie's like, I don't know. I guess that's the Renaissance men. And Pim's like, but what did they even do? And he's like, I don't know, man. And Pim's like, but the fucking, what does this have to do with Renaissance? And Charlie's like, I know as much as you do, dude. Like, I don't know what you want. And it's just like a totally like grounded, normal conversation about this like ridiculous scenario. But like, that's what's so funny about that. And the perfect episode that encapsulates that is the bonus one they did of them going to Brazil.
Yeah.
Where it's just that whole episode is just them like
annoyed and
having this like frustrating situation in an airport, and it's like the funniest fucking thing because of how just mundane it is.
One of my favorite scenes is when I saw a clip of it recently. It's just Charlie talking about the boss, and I don't think he has a name. I think they just call him the boss.
He's always just the boss.
He's like, man, the boss is so funny, isn't he? I feel like you should do stand-up comedy, shouldn't he? And they're like kind of like going back and forth, like kind of just riffing about how great he is at just making like random statements and how he should just start stand-up comedy. And I feel like that's a conversation you would just have with your friends, being like, "Oh, isn't he? He should try stand-up comedy. He's kind of funny." And then they're kind of like, "Yeah, he should do stand-up comedy." Like, it's not even a joke there, really. It's just like so real, you know?
Yeah.
That's great.
So, anyways, shout out Smiling Friends.
Smiling Friends, watch it.
Don't make it.
Don't
watch
sleep.
It.
Don't sleep on it.
Watch it, but like also don't make it too popular. You know.
Okay. Do we want to? We can wrap it up here.
Let's keep going.
Okay.
What do you have left? Like, what are
I'm
some
not
of the
gonna lie
big
to you.
hitters?
I had them in an order, but I didn't go in that order, so I
Wow.
actually don't know how many I have left.
Wow.
There's a couple more. There's a couple more that I wanted to get to. That
Yes.
I'm assuming you'll have on there.
Yeah.
It's up to you guys. We can stop if we want, but I'd like to keep going.
Well, rattle some off really quickly. What do you
let's
have?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do quick fire.
We have the Bear,
Okay, let's do
which
the
we
Bear.
haven't done yet.
Okay.
Are you,
Rick and Morty.
I thought we were just gonna rate them quick.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to know what you have so I can pick and choose.
The Bear, Rick and Morty,
Okay.
Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Good Place. I don't know if you saw that,
I
right?
have not.
Oh, I thought two of us saw that. Okay, so we don't have to do that one. Invincible, Mr. Robot, How Much Your Mother.
Why don't we just
and
do
that's
some of these major ones, just like rapid fire answers?
Okay, let's rapid fire them. No explanation. Just say what you
Well,
think.
the only two out of those I wanted to touch on was the Bear and Invincible specifically.
I want to
Okay.
touch on Mr. Robot as well.
Okay, so let's do those three.
Okay.
Okay, let's do it.
So the The Bear is, to me, is again, it's critically like beloved as like an incredible show. Almost nobody talks about it that I know or anyone our age. So for that reason, and because it's not like, you know, like a AAA show, like a huge show, I'm gonna go underrated. I think it's incredible, and I think more people need to know about it and talk about it.
Okay.
I really like The Bear, and it's tough because I think that Forks episode in season 2, all about cousin Richie.
I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm almost there.
Oh, you're not on season 2?
Yeah, I'm on season 2 now. I'm like halfway through season 2.
The episode of season 2, Forks, I think is arguably a like perfect episode of television. So it's really tough, but I would maybe put The Bear in the slightly overrated camp.
Overrated.
Because I feel like people
I've never heard anybody
talk about The Bear like it's the second coming of Christ.
But who have you heard? I've never heard anybody our age anywhere. Every time I talk about it, no one knows.
Not so much personally, but it's more like some of the shit I see online and like the sort of like internet discourse about it, where people are like, "Oh my god, it's like, you know, this jaw dropping, blah blah blah, whatever
I
thing,"
agree.
and I'm kind of like, "It's fantastic. It's really good," and like I think that season 2, the Seven Fishes episode, like the episode all about
I'm about to get to that.
their family kind of thing, like the Christmas dinner, that episode and the Forks episode with Richie in season 2, I think are both some of the best shit I've ever seen. But then like generally when I'm watching the show, I'm like, this is all like rock solid and really good and whatever. But
I'm not saying anything about it. I haven't seen it, so it's between you two to figure out.
to me, it's just
in the middle then.
as much as I love it,
So we just put it there.
as much as I love it, it's not necessarily something that like
Now, I hate to do this. We said rapid fire.
Yeah.
I would go overrated.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna.
Ever so slightly.
So it looks like
Or at base, perfectly rated.
well,
we're
because you guys are
gonna-
in the both extremes, so I guess we'll just meet in the middle. Then.
Sure.
Okay. What else did we say we were gonna do? Mr.
I
Robot.
that's for Mr. Robot and underrated. And I'm sure you would as well. I mean, I'm assuming you would because I don't. It's one of those things where it got insanely high reviews, but I almost heard nobody talk about it. And it's a newer show. It came out like 2014 or 17.
Something like
or
that.
something
Yeah.
like
Well,
that.
we were in high school. Something
Yeah.
like that.
So no one I knew ever talked about it. No one on social media was talking about it at the time. I felt like it just kind of flew under the radar, and it's like people who know it would love it.
Yeah.
But not that many people talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's underrated as well. Like it was rated highly,
Yeah.
but it kind of came and went, and it's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's as if it never.
A lot of people
happened.
a lot of people are like, have you seen Mr. Robot? They're like, what's that?
Yeah.
I've never even heard of it.
So, but just because of like, you know, it is like a really good show, and I think more people should know about it and watch it. And it's like really briefness in
But even
the
in the industry,
culture almost.
Yeah, even in the culture.
In the
but
culture.
also like Matty was talking about, like
Yeah.
when we're talking about The Godfather, there's like this like general beloved, like
Yeah,
hold it
yeah.
on like this pedestal.
Yeah.
I feel like
It's
Mr.
not in
Robot
any
didn't quite get that even
conversations,
in the
yeah.
industry where people like they give it awards and shit.
Yeah.
But I feel like it came and went. Not many people focused on how
True.
great
True.
it was.
True. Yeah.
Agreed. Haven't seen it. My beloved,
Invincible.
my beautiful baby boy. This one's tough. I could see it personally going in either the perfectly rated or the underrated. I might skew a little towards the underrated. It's definitely popular. It's definitely like big. The people who watch it really love it. Like I've barely seen any online talk or like creators or any people being like, "Oh, I watched it and it was fine," or like, "Oh, I didn't really like it," kind of thing. Like I feel like that pool of people is relatively small. The only reason I would put it in the underrated thing is because it's more so that it's like kind of almost like The Boys, where it's like a superhero-y thing. So like it's big in those circles in quotes, or like comic nerds like me who have like read it and know it. But I feel like on a mainstream way, it's not necessarily there yet. It's definitely not a Boys. Like The Boys has definitely broken through
The Boys has become
to
mainstream.
like, you know, The Boys is a mainstream,
Yeah.
this like bigger beloved thing.
If you ask most people nowadays who are watching shows that are coming out, like what's like the most exciting show that's coming up or that's been happening right now, a lot of people would say The Boys.
Yeah.
Not that many people might say Invincible.
Like more people have seen The Boys than Invincible.
Yeah.
Shout out Malcolm's
That-
uncle.
Absolutely.
That being said, I think I'm gonna go perfectly rated. Because I do feel like it has a lot of steam behind it, and a lot of people talk about it, and everyone thinks it's great, and I think it is great. So I don't think it's necessarily like way underappreciated or anything, because I hear people talking about it all the time online and in person as well.
I'm with Mark. I think it's perfectly rated. And I think that's I had WandaVision here, but we don't gotta get to that.
No, we didn't really have that many in Overrated.
No.
It's pretty okay.
It's a pretty good list. A lot of TV.
Woo!
Shout out.
Alrighty.
All right. Thanks for listening. Watch some of these shows or get the hell out of my face.
Wow. Gentlemen, I have a nice, quick, light thing to just throw out into the ether, and then we'll move on, since this is already going to be a long fucking episode with the cold opening we just did and Fahim's thing. Figured it'll be a little more lighthearted and fun. Gentlemen, I want to paint a picture for you.
Can you keep setting it up and then not get to it?
That's all I'm going to do for 10
That's the
15
topic.
minutes.
The setup.
The
topic.
setup.
Topic. Gentlemen, I need you to picture in your heads. Now, in my head, this scenario
Can I close my eyes?
out, please. Works out like this. Your family is dead. So you're on your own right
You just
now.
pass it goes.
He smiles. Your
Maybe
family is dead and you're on your own.
Okay.
The zombie apocalypse strikes.
Mhm.
Now, for the purpose of this exercise, I'm painting a Walking Dead-like zombie apocalypse.
Sure.
We're dealing with undead, slow zombies. None of this World War Z
They can't sprint.
shit where they're running around. Slow, classic zombies that you need to destroy the brain to kill.
Something makes it kind of lame when they're fast like that. But
I know. Gentlemen, my question is, what is your zombie apocalypse survival plan?
Survival plan. I thought you were gonna say weapon of choice. Can I talk about that?
We can get to that.
Damn. Survival plan.
Here's
And
what I'll start with.
I can't meet up with you guys. Like my family's dead, and I'm like I'm on my own. Is what you're trying to say?
Well, here's the thing, because I fantasize about this sometimes, because I'm
You're a maniac.
broken inside. Yes.
Fantasize.
And I think about like, what would I do? What would it be like? And in my head, I always picture myself alone. I don't know why.
Isn't fantasy or like fantasize
Like a
isn't
positive-
there like a good connotation to
Yeah,
that?
yeah. That
I
means you're
guess.
looking forward to it. if
Yeah,
it
you
happens.
know, there's a small, teeny part of me that looks forward to the end of the world. In
I
some
hate
way.
you.
I always joke that if this shit happens, I'm gonna die like day 2. But to me, if I somehow could find this situation or find myself in the situation, I would just want to be in a bunker.
Sure.
Like I'd want to be hunker down in this like underground bunker that's like nice and spacious with like friends or people that I've met up with,
You know where you could go?
and we have like just a bunch of like cans saved up.
Yeah, you know where you could go?
What?
You know how I said the thing about Diefenbaker
Mm-hmm.
at La Carnita, not La Carnita, Viva la Tortilla.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bunker near off Ottawa, just outside Ottawa. You can go there. It's a bunker.
Wow. How are you gonna
Yep.
get there?
You just drive.
In the zombie apocalypse?
Well, we're talking about it's day 1, day 2. He has gas.
Yeah,
Yeah, but there's gonna be pandemonium in the streets and zombies everywhere.
I feel like
He'll find a way.
my plan is to be stationed in a bunker, and then the question becomes, okay, what if you run out of food and water?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's moved to the next bunker.
Mm.
I think that's how because to me, if we're in this classical zombie apocalypse, there's never a cure in any of these types of shows.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure some shows have done it. Like even The Last of Us have kind of they talk about the cure and like all this stuff. But I'm thinking like Walking Dead scenario, we're never gonna find a cure, so I'm just gonna keep going from bunker to bunker with the people that I care about, and then just like surviving as long as we can with the food and water at the bunkers that we go to, and then that's it.
Yeah, but there's only one that you have access to.
Why can't I find another bunker? Oh, if it's like locked down, you're saying? That's true.
Yeah, either it's locked down
That's
or
true,
you
that's
don't know about, because like I guess people have private bunkers. Like
That's a very good point. I probably wouldn't be able to get into other. I probably wouldn't be able to get into any. But if I
Yeah.
had my own bunker, then I would stay in my own bunker until I probably died.
My thing is, so I look at this. There's a ton of. I've put thought into this, gentlemen. Trust me. Immediately, my first thought is like, okay, I'm staying local. Like I'm gonna stay in town. Is my initial.
Are you doing a
thought.
bill from
Okay.
The Last of Us?
Because I'm not going. Rule number 1: Toronto or any other major city off limits. Fuck that.
yeah.
Too much problems. Too much to go wrong. Bigger population, which means bigger population of zombies. No, thank you. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm staying local.
Can I make a comment on that local point?
Please.
I think we need to be really appreciative geographically where we are.
Mm.
Like imagine we were in Egypt or we were
Oh, Lord.
in like India or
Oh,
any
Lord.
other part of the world
highly populated.
that's
Yeah.
highly populated, but also Canada has, I think, the largest supply of fresh water
Mm-hmm.
in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Just go up north.
So we are in like prime real estate
You go-
for this zombie
Mhm.
apocalypse.
you go up north where it's cold. The zombies are slower.
This is
Mhm.
the thing. You take the gamble of do you go up north? My thing is I don't necessarily want to be up north because I don't want to because then you have to deal with, nature and like the elements and the cold kind of thing. So I want to stay where we are, like Southern Ontario, where it's like I've got the summer, but I've got the winter. So it's like, yes, I need to be prepared for the winter, but I'm not like
living
stuck
in it
kind of thing. So in my head, I'm like, I'm staying local. Then I think about it very granularly, where I'm like, okay, I'm staying in my house. Again, in my head, I assume, like, let's say everybody on my street or neighborhood is either dead or has like left town kind of thing. So in my head, I think of it.
Or zombies walking around now.
Sure, they're part of the problem. In my head, it's like what I'd like to try and do is if I could just secure like my street as like a safe zone. So in my head, I think of like, well, I've got to clear all the houses of any zombies if they're around. Then I think of it like if there's a few cars around, or even just like the cars in my house,
Like a blockade.
I want to just block both ends of the street with cars so that like other people can't come driving in. Like you'd have to get in
Like literally no one can
on
squeeze
foot
through.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like you can't drive a car in sort of thing. And that's my sort of game plan of like if I can secure my street, so to speak, because then I've got like a bunch of different houses to sort of like either stock things in or like move around in sort of thing. I've got like all the backyards to kind of like make use of all that room. So that's my sort of game plan HQ wise. But I also think of like, well, I'm going to have to go into like town periodically to like, you know, scavenge for supplies or scavenge for food or like this, that, and the other thing. And so in my head, I also think of like, I would want to make little like safe spots or like supply caches throughout town so that if I was ever at like, you know, if I was like at Main Street, for example, and it's like shit goes down and there's a bunch of zombies around, or, and we'll get to this part, roaming bandits, because you know the fucking raiders and the bandits are going to start once society falls. So it's like, let's say shit goes down, I need to get out of there in a pinch. Well, I'm not going to be able to get all the way across town to my fucking house in any reasonable amount of time. I'm also assuming I'm not really having a car and gas, so as far as I'm aware, I'm like biking everywhere or even just like skateboarding to kind of get from point A to point B. But I would want places where it's like, oh, I know this store, I've like secured it, and there's like a room in it where I could go hide and lay low if I had to for like a day, and just I'd have water and like a bed, and you know, I could hide out sort of thing.
Do you guys feel like you know people in real life that would become a bandit if this happened? Like, do you know anybody who you're like, this guy's kind of an asshole? He would actually probably be a thief and a bandit.
Yeah, but I can't say their names, can I?
Wow.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
we can
we'll
bleep
cut
it
it
out.
Who is it?
I think like it would definitely be like
Wow, a literal criminal.
Just become a straight up bandit where he just like gets up with, like groups up with the boys and they just like rob poor people.
The other thing I think about in my head is like weapons. Because we're not in America, guns is the biggest problem.
You gotta do the baseball bat with nails.
Where it's like guns have the disadvantage of they're loud, draws unwanted attention, but it's also like a way more like surefire means of protection.
Yeah, you can have. That's the biggest thing for me. It's like I wish we were in America because
You have to use melee
I
weapons
don't
here,
want to.
right?
Yeah, I don't want to get up close and personal.
So
That's
my
like
thing
way
is,
more risky.
I'm immediately pillaging houses and places on the off chance anybody
has a gun.
has a handgun or like a hunting rifle or something that I can just sort of have as like a if all else fails. But that's definitely a thought I've had where it's like I gotta stock up on like knives and bats and like melee weapons.
Did you know it'd be a winner?
I've got to start fucking doing some Last of Us Fallout 4 type shit of like modding these fucking things with like nails and spikes and shit.
You know, what would be the way to go is like a crossbow. If someone happens to own a crossbow in the countryside or whatever, and then you can have like long range arrows.
Even a
that,
bow
like,
and arrow. Because in
Sure.
my head, it's like, it's
That's
the
more
apocalypse. I have all the fucking
yeah.
time in the world now.
Practice.
If I can find a bow and arrow, just spend like 2-3 hours a day just doing nothing but archery until I like am at a point where I can do it.
What kind of sad life is that, though?
Survival, baby. I gotta fucking stay alive.
You're living for what at that
Yeah.
point?
Well, I mean, the ultimate answer at the end of all this is if it doesn't work out, like I'm putting a bullet through my brain.
Yeah.
Like if it all doesn't work out.
You know what to me is like you haven't played Last of Us Part 2 yet.
No.
Have you played the first one?
Yeah.
Okay. The best, one of the nicest, I feel like the most calm and peaceful scenes that I've seen or situations that I've seen is in The Last of Us Part 2 where they have their like hometown. It's very like homey and like there's like beautiful lights everywhere and they have like a school where they teach kids and they have families there and there are people having babies because they feel comfortable, like safe enough in the area. And they have patrols that go out and they have a huge wall that protects them and like nothing comes through in and out. Like the town never goes to shit as far as I remember, right? Like
No,
it's always
yeah.
very secure, very protected. I think that's the way to go. Like get a large group of people that you trust and you care about, build a community, and then just hunker shit down together and like literally build big walls
Mm-hmm.
so that nothing can come in and out. And you have to like, like the shunk, pull the wall open with like 10 people. Like it's like very secure.
That's why I like the idea of trying to secure my street down, because then with all those houses in my head, it's like if I were to start like involving myself with other survivors, I've sort of got like a place where like everybody's got a roof over their heads and we can all sort of be like in close proximity. I do think of this a lot of times as being like totally isolated, because I also have the thoughts of like, can I really trust people in the apocalypse? How long is it going to take till somebody conks me over the head and fucking eats me? But I also think, to your point earlier, I think I would be very Bill in The Last of Us like in terms of like having little safe spots all over town, having like my shit locked
Booby
down,
traps everywhere.
and like booby trapping the shit out of everything, or doing the thing of like, just having like fucking bottles and cans strung up
For noise.
as like noise alerts and all kinds of things. Trying to do shit at like some stuff at night so that like it's harder to be seen. And I think of the thing too of like I have to get like fucking legit camouflage and stuff, or like in the winter I want to be wearing like lots of white so that if I am like scavenging somewhere in town, like I've got sort of built-in camouflage and shit like that. Very Metal Gear like. So these are definitely lots of things that I've thought of, but the weapons is definitely one where I'm like, I'm gonna have to arm up in a way that's like not ideal with the lack of guns, but enough that I could still like handle shit if push comes to shove. I think about it in like an armor perspective too, where it's like I'm probably raiding some like sports store for like their hockey equipment, for like chest pads and shit, and like something on my arms, so that if I am like attacked
Get
by a
bit.
fucking zombie, I can hopefully take a bite
The problem is
and
like
the armor take it and be fine.
the problem is like trying to do that without being too bogged down by like a lot of weight.
But then this is the other thing is like it's a weight very video gaming. It's a weight consideration, and in the summer it's also like, well, I don't want to be wearing
Sweating
more layers in the
balls,
summer because then I'm just gonna be like way too fucking. In the winter it's more like I'll layer up and just kind of armor up. But in the summer
Winter
it's
is-
more of like a
Winter I feel like is easier in here because you just wear like you try to find like a really thick waterproof like one of those like -50-degree jackets that are like super like thick and durable, because then those probably you could survive a bite, like it won't even cut skin or like touch your skin.
yeah, like ideally something like that. So there's different considerations in terms of that sense.
And you gotta get probably good at hunting too.
Yes,
Like
there's that for sure
like,
too.
like fishing,
Food and water, and I say this with all the arrogance in the world, is something I'm not necessarily worried about, because I feel like in my head it's like if I'm in town, I feel like there's enough spots, especially early on,
Just grab a slice.
that I could sort of scavenge out where I'd be able to have enough food for at least a while. In the warmer weather, I would definitely be like growing my own like fruits and vegetables
Dude,
and shit.
Imagine in the town we live in, if this shit happened, how quickly the supermarkets would be empty.
Exactly.
Like after a day or two, there would be nothing left. People
But so
would pick everything clean.
I feel like I'd be growing my own stuff. I'd be like trying to set like animal traps and shit to try and catch a fucking rabbit or like squirrels and shit and whatever like it takes kind of thing. And water I'm not necessarily as worried about, because it's like I feel like there's just enough spots in towns
Fresh
to
water?
get water that I'm not worried about, and I would just be collecting rainwater like a motherfucker and then just boiling it before I drink it,
or you
and
could
like
probably-
just taking my chances with that.
Or you can probably find filters. People like own filters in their houses, like the Britas, or you just something
Sure,
like
even
filters
just like I have a Brita in my fridge, like
Mm.
even just I'm sure eventually like
Scooping.
they start to go obviously, but just like
Yeah.
take a bunch of rainwater, dump it into a Brita, and just like
You'll
the
be
problem is
fine.
you just have to make sure you collect enough water. Like I know my neighbors, they always have like a garbage bin in their backyard that they use to collect rainwater just for like gardening and shit, so they don't always have to use like the hose and whatever. But like for drinking water, I would just be again in my head where I'm clearing my street, taking everybody's fucking garbage bins and blue bins and shit, and just like when it's raining, put them all outside and then just bring it all in when it's done. That zombie movie 28 Days Later.
They're making a new one, right? 28
28 years later, yeah, which is interesting. I've never actually seen 28 Days Later, but there's
Jared
a
Leto's
scene
gonna
in
be
it.
in it.
The what now?
I think the Jared Leto's in the original, right?
He was in it, and the main guy's
Sorry, Killian, was it Killian?
yeah,
Murphy?
Cillian Murphy's the main
I think
character.
they said he's gonna be back.
Yeah, he's apparently back
Yeah.
or whatever. But there's a shot and like a scene in 28 Days Later that I always love and find so haunting, where he's in like a apartment building,
Yeah.
and they're on the roof, and the person has put out like every bowl, cup, tin, bin like everything they can find out on the roof, and they're all empty because it's like they've just been waiting for it to fucking rain and it hasn't. But they've been like so desperate for water. I always love that shot just because it's like so haunting and fucked up that like they have all this shit out trying to get water. That would be your fucking boy. Of like the second it rains, like I'm putting everything I can outside so that I know I've got like a secure amount of water to last me till like the next time it rains.
Can we just say I love zombie movies and zombie shows because it always hits to like it always to me I like thematically how it talks about humanity and people like trust and relationships and like what do you care about in life and like I feel like it's a good vehicle to talk a lot about like these sort of themes that are to me important and like interesting. Like I love like even like Shane's character in The Walking Dead where he's kind of like this complicated, conflicted guy, and there's like conversations where people might be like, no, I agree with what he did. He should have done that. And it's like there's a lot of like humanity arguments to be had, which I like. I guess it's just like a more broad like thematic thing about zombie apocalypse because I feel like I don't think about strategically how I do shit because I'd be like I'm gonna be dead, like I'm gonna die. So but yeah.
I hate what Joel does in the end of the first.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's messed up.
Dooms humanity.
It's messed up.
But at the same time, you like you're glad that he does it in a way. In a way, you're like,
I'm sure
he lost his daughter in the beginning of the game, and now he has this daughter who he loves so much, and they have this relationship where they can rely on each other and they count on each other, and he finally has like hope and purpose in life. Yeah. So to see that be ripped away from him would be soul crushing for us as the players. Yeah. But at the same time, to know that he's destroying everything else is like. But I almost feel like it. If he let her die, it would be a sadder or more sad for the viewer, for the game player, because it's like you've seen this relationship grow and it's personal to you, as opposed to like vaguely the concept of saving people. It's like but these people are faceless and the world is faceless, whereas these people have like gone to like fall in love with.
If I remember correctly, didn't she like consent to having it done?
She wanted it.
Well, so here's what's interesting.
She wanted it. Like
she wanted it, but she didn't. The thing that's fucked up is that they never told her that it would kill her. She would have done it anyway.
She didn't necessarily know she was. Yeah, she didn't know she was gonna die, but she would have done it anyways. But her whole thing was like, I want to see this through kind of thing.
But there's the scene where Joel is talking to who's the girl from the Fireflies?
Marlene.
Yeah, he's talking to Marlene, and then he goes, "Does she like?" He asked her like, "Does she know that it's gonna kill her?" And then Marlene says something to the effect of like, she doesn't, but she would go through it anyway. And then Joel, I don't know if Joel makes a comment about it, but it's like the whole idea of, yeah, you believe that she would go through with it, and she probably would, but it's still fucked up because she never was explicitly told, hey, it's gonna kill you.
Well, I think they make it fairly clear, like that Ellie is kind of like, I would have given my life for this.
But I'm saying but before that, there's no indication of her.
Not
being
beforehand. It's more a thing afterwards of like her having the thought of like, I would have done this kind of thing.
But Patrick's saying like the consent thing. Like she never consented to dying for it. She would have for sure if she knew about it, but she never was even hinted at her dying for the cure.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
To me, it's just more a thing of like he robs her of it and dooms humanity.
That's what I recall after finishing the game of like. Yeah. Well, what have you done, Joel? This was it.
Well, when me and my brother watched the show with my mom, and at the end of it, and my mom was all like, oh my god, that was so good, and blah blah blah, and like, she had the same thoughts of everybody who fucking beat the first game of like, does Ellie really believe what Joel's saying to her, and all of a sudden, blah 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 blah. And I was saying to my mom, I was like, isn't it fucking great? Joel's the bad guy, and my mom's like, well, he's not really the bad guy, blah blah blah. I'm like, he's objectively the bad guy. He just doomed the planet.
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's why he's objectively the bad guy, and that's what's awesome about it. Because you're so conflicted on it.
It doesn't feel that way, though, Because
no, and that's what's so great about it, is that it's so like conflicting, and you get it and understand it, and there is a part of you, the viewer, that is like, I'm so glad he saved Ellie, but it's like, he's the bad guy. Like, there's no like ifs, ands, or buts about it.
I know you haven't seen Breaking Bad, but it's the same idea of him doing horrible shit and murdering people and doing all this illegal activity. But because you have gone however many hours seeing him grow and seeing him try this shit and going from this kind of like shy man who was never able to like, take control of his life to now this like powerful guy who you've grown to like care about. It's like, objectively he's doing all this horrible shit, but at the same time you can't help but like feel like you support him in a way. Like you support Joel in dooming humanity, but at the same time you're able to recognize that it is fucked up. It's I don't know, it's cool. Anyway.
Zombies. But yeah, I don't know. The apocalypse is, like I said, and I'm sure by this conversation it will become glaring. You know, there was the whole like, how often does your boyfriend think about the Roman Empire thing? For me, it's not a Roman Empire thing. For me, it's like sitting around at work or at home or wherever sometimes, or just on like a drive somewhere and just thinking to myself, like, for putting way more thought into it than I ever should have. Just like, well, if it all went to shit tomorrow with the zombie apocalypse, what would I do? And
I mean,
where
Bill
would
Burr talks about like how he has like his helicopter license, and as soon as the zombie apocalypse, he'd just be like.
I have that thought too of like, do I try the like get on a boat and just go hang out in the ocean tactic?
Or maybe if it's in the future, you can just go to a different a country, a different planet.
This is also true.
If in the future,
Zombie
if space
apocalypse
travel
and
is way
fucking-
more accessible to people.
Zombie apocalypse in space, fucking go off world. But yeah, zombies though, it is a lot of fun. It's always fun media. I get that it's to some people it's a little played out kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's what. But the thing about it that's not played out is the relationships, because you can make those unique. You know what
Sure.
I'm saying? Like the humanity part of it is what makes it. Like people don't give a shit about The Walking Dead because the zombies are cool. You know, people like it because of the characters and the relationships and what's going on, like dynamic wise with the population or whatever.
Sure.
So
Well, a lot of zombie media is like that, where it's like the least interesting part about
the
it
zombies.
is the zombies, and
Which is
usually it is
fascinating.
more just like, you know, how humanity reacts
and-
and like
yeah.
the fall and the reaction, and like, you know, it is seeing fucking
people, yeah.
cannibals or like
how
death
low
cults
people stoop,
or like all this crazy shit of like, god damn, like
and like who are you gonna morally agree with, like, and also it's never black and white. Sometimes it's not black and white. I know every like zombie storyline does like the cannibals or whatever, the horrible people who have stooped down to the lowest level possible. But I like when a lot of zombie shows and movies and whatever do kind of like this gray area of like, I don't necessarily, I can see where they're coming from, and there's like an interesting conversation to be had about it, as opposed to like, oh, they're just horrible people straight up.
but the cannibals, fuck you.
Yeah,
Sorry, cannibals. Last of Us with David's people.
crazy.
Walking Dead episode 2 on the farm. Fuck all that shit. Varsh and I, we haven't gotten back to it yet because she's not a big horror person, but I was making her play through the Telltale Walking Dead. We've only done
Love
the
it.
first 2 episodes, but it's been like at least a month, if not more.
Have you
since
played the
we've
last
played it.
season? I bought it. I haven't played it.
Yeah.
Is it good?
I really liked it. I think it was better than the third. I think the third
Third was the one with the
season's-
third was a spin-off one, right?
The third is the one where Clementine's in it,
But it's
but
just
you're
like-
not playing
you're
as
playing
her.
Javier
Yeah,
or
you're
whatever.
the Javier dude. She's
I don't
like
know why they
more of
did
a
that.
side character in it.
It's more of like it's a spin-off, right? In the same world, but it's not like the same storyline. is it?
Yeah, it's not super connected to the other stuff.
You know what was
Whereas like
amazing?
4 gets
Dude,
back to it.
I
a
think
little
2
more.
was the best. 2 is incredible.
I think 1's still the best.
Mm.
2's really good too.
With Kenny, dude.
With when that comes back, it's
Oh,
like
man.
my sweet baby
Bro,
boy.
Patrick, you would cry if you played that game, bro. It's so good. Like, because it's all about making decisions. And then you choose to save certain people or let other people die, and then like
That's what I'm trying to put Varsh through because
Oh,
I keep
man.
telling her because she's not
You
super
want her to cry.
horror-y.
she doesn't want to make the
She's
decision.
not super horror yes, and she panics immediately when it's like make a decision or like are you gonna piss this
if I was
character
you,
off
I'd be pissed
or
off.
like maybe make this character happy.
I'd be like, just make a decision.
And she's like, oh, I don't want to like piss this person off, or I don't like I want to make everybody happy, or I want to keep everybody alive. Like, so it's fun watching her play it just because she's so like
Panicky,
petrified of like making all the choices. But I'm like, no, you fucking got. And that's the thing that's like. I know she just beat Spider-Man recently, and like she's playing some other stuff that she's a little more into than The Walking Dead. But I'm like trying to convince her of like, I need you to. I'm not saying play all of it, but I'm
Yeah.
like, I need you to just see the first season through to the end.
Amazing,
especially
yeah.
because I'm like, when you get to the end of the last episode, I know you're gonna fucking bawl your eyes out and all this shit.
100%, dude.
So I'm like,
I
I
forgot
need
about
you
that. I
to
forgot
get
about-
to the end of the first season at least, just for me personally.
Dude, I forgot about that. I forgot about that ending. I remember watching PewDiePie react to it when I was like 12 or whatever. I remember seeing a bunch of YouTubers react to the ending of the game, and everybody cries. Like everybody, and I remember crying.
It's actually been a while. The next time her and I are hanging out at the house, I have to make her play episode 3 so that we can keep going. We just started somewhat recently. It Takes Two, because I've
co-op.
never had anyone to play It Takes Two with, but now
And,
that her and I have it,
And the what's the one with the 2 prison break guys?
A Way Out.
Yeah, that one too.
I don't know if her and I'll ever do that because I don't know how much that appeals to her, and even me, I'm like kind of whatever about it. But It Takes Two had like enough buzz about it and seemed like cute and
Oh,
interesting.
one game of the year, right?
Yes, it did. But yeah. Anyways, zombies, the apocalypse.
Cool.
I hope. Are you ready? Are you gonna have a plan? I hope so.
Are you asking the people?
Audience, do you have a zombie plan? Are you gonna turn into a fucking cannibal? You degenerate? Probably.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Probably.
Probably.
All right.
Anyways,
I'm good to take the show out because I'm about to fall asleep.
Mark's about to fall asleep, so there you go. I was about to transition out and cut away, but fuck you. We're ending the show. Hello. Did you like it? Did it do it for you? Did it get you there? Did you get off? I know we did.
It was mostly sexual.
Mostly sexual. Please like, share, subscribe. A bit of a not shorter, but maybe less topics.
Did
I
you
don't know.
do that?
What? Fix TV?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because we kind of just did the long ass cold open, which was almost a just shoot the shit topic unto itself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some TV discussion and some zombie apocalypse stuff.
Yeah.
There you go. There's your
Would-
episode. Does
would-
anybody have anything to get off their chest?
Would Malcolm want to be saying like "screw Doja Cat" at this point? What would he want to be
No,
saying?
I feel like last week we sort of cast.
We put that
Doja
to bed,
Cat.
right?
Yeah, we sort of like cast her aside
Okay. Yeah.
in a pretty conclusive way.
True.
That like we're not. We refuse to have her on the show.
Yeah.
Like I know she's been DMing.
No.
the
Yeah.
Wildly
It's not gonna
Adequate
happen. It
account
can't happen.
About like, hey, get me on, kind of thing.
It's just one of those things where the ship has.
the ship has
What
sailed.
are we doing? The ship has sailed.
The ship has sailed. She will
Sorry,
not
Doja.
be appearing on the show ever. But if she'd like to appear
On my bed.
I was gonna say. Well, I was gonna say across the dinner table from Mark on a swanky evening.
Please.
she can do that. But or Mark's bed, whatever.
Great.
She's,
Wow. Whatever Mark pleases, I guess.
whatever she's into.
Let's paint the town red. You know
Um,
what I mean?
Are we too tired for some Smash, or what are we thinking here?
I mean,
I'm open to it.
Okay. Should we just cut the
little?
cameras
No.
and decide what's
Yeah,
going on here?
All right. See you, everybody.
is there anything anybody else wants to get off their chest?
No.
I hope Malcolm's doing all right.
Mm.
I guess
Should we call him?
You know, what is he sick?
he's not sick. But
Okay,
it's just
well,
Should we
like,
call him?
yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's call him.
Your
I'll call
phone
him.
and my phone are
Yeah, let's
pretty close. Let's call Malcolm and just touch base.
let's try and get him
Okay.
get a word
Yeah,
in here.
I'll take it from here.
Let's see what he says.
Hello?
Malcolm, you're live on the show.
I'm live on the show?
Yeah, we just wanted to, before we end the episode, we wanted to touch base and see how you were doing and if you wanted to say anything to the lovely people watching.
Oh, I'm tired. I want to go to bed.
How was practice?
It was better today.
Oh.
There were a couple Colombian guys out there, but you guys are still going so late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you? How was your day? What did you do today?
The usual weekday thing. Wake up early for the gym, go to work.
Does this story get any better?
No, it doesn't.
All right, hit us with a quick outro.
Patrick, is there anyone you want to invite on the show? Or
Bro, you got to think of something yourself, dog.
We just talked about not having Doja Cat. For the.
we already talked about not having Doja Cat, so think of an outro. Let's go.
No, not Doja Cat.
Why don't you just hit us with a thanks for watching? Like wrap it up.
Thanks to all our Google Play listeners, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks,
There you
Malcolm.
go. Thank
Love you,
you.
buddy. See ya.
See you guys.
Goodbye. There you go. And that was Malcolm. Thank you for
Alrighty.
tuning in, Malcolm. And thank you, too, for being here.
Yeah.
You're good company. Yeah,
All
you're
right.
good company.
Cool.
Anyways, goodbye.